We'll pull up a chair, it's story time. From Stephen McDaniels to Gabriel Renee's crimes. Amy Day's tale, a dark design, but they cover it all with comedy in mind. The world of true crime, they're always spewing lies. The world of true crime, they leave their shoes behind. The world of true crime, they entertain you and I. They always do time in the world of true crime. They dig up the facts, but the jokes will fly. Dark tales and humor, a curious tie. From mysteries old to motives unkind, they'll lighten the load with a laugh you'll find. Their downfall's worse than a suitcase on the stairs. Justice comes tumbling, nobody cares. On YouTube they gather this team you can't miss, turning chaos and crime into comical bliss. The world of true crime, they're always spewing lies. The world of true crime, they leave their shoes behind. The world of true crime, they entertain you and I. They always do time in the world of true crime. So if you crave justice with a laugh on the side, tune in for a wild, unforgettable ride. Dark humor and crime, they intertwine in the world of true crime. The laughs align.
A cruel charade in the dark where trust betrayed. A suitcase held the final plea. Now echoes haunt my memory. I said I forgave, but the pain remains. For every mark, for every chain, the hurt we carried, the lines we crossed, a shattered bond at such a cost. In the shadows of the night, a voice was lost, a fading light. No intention to break or bind, but what we left, a tortured mind. I thought of wrongs, the scars he made, the battles fought and dues unpaid. But as he called, I turned away. Regret now haunts the light of day. Forgiveness spoken, but heavy lies. The truth of love wrapped in goodbyes. A life now gone, a fate unknown, a lesson learned, a heart of stone. In the shadows of the night, a voice was lost, a fading light. No intention to break or bind, but what we left, a tortured mind. In the shadows of the night, a voice was lost, a fading light. No intention to break or bind, but what we left, a tortured mind. We played a game and here I stand, a final plea, an empty hand. Forever haunted by the face left behind in a suitcase.
You're listening to FFOP Radio.
Reach the and welcome to the show. My name is Dave. This is FFOP Radio, and it's what everybody's been waiting for. We're finally doing it. Well, finally, we're like a week late. We'll get into it. We'll unpack it later. First of all, I want to introduce my co-host and producer, Krista's right over there off camera.
Hello.
So here we are. Sarah Boone. If you don't know who Sarah Boone is, I don't know what you're doing here. But let's
Get out of here.
Just in case you're like, whoa, what's this all about? Sarah Boone put George in the suitcase, down the stairs, baseball bat. 5 years goes by. 8 lawyers
Yep.
come and go. Like
Handmade flyer.
the handmade flyer. Oh, god damn, man.
Part of me wishes that she represented herself because I think that would have been like...
It would have been a shit show. Like, it was way funnier this way, personally, because if she had to go with backup counsel or whatever, thank God this guy came in and just got his shit stomped. Like,
Mr. Owens.
Mr. Owens.
Hello, Brick.
It's happening, Brick. Smell you later, FDO. P.S. FDO helped me write that World of True Crime song, so thank you.
That's a good one.
Subscribe to Uncanny Jams if you like, hip-hop and the like. But I don't think I could have asked for a better show than this. It wasn't so irritating. Like, I couldn't watch a lot of Daryl Brooks stuff because he was just like, a lot of stuff when it makes it to the courtroom is almost unwatchable, depending on the case and like having to get through all the rigmarole. This, almost promised to be super short because it's like, you ever overwork a job and you go on to overtime, and that when you start doing overtime, you feel sort of invigorated because you're like, oh, I'm making more money and I could be going home, and now I'm like, yada, yada, yada. Like, this is day 3 of overtime where like your eyes are blown out, there's bags under them, like you look like a leather sheet wrapping a skeleton, and you just want to go home. So you're trying to get everything you can done as quickly as possible, and that's where we are at.
Yeah.
Flew through this, took like no time at all. Stuff ended back in October. Here we are, December.
I'm surprised that this didn't get pushed out more. Like, I'm surprised that her lawyer didn't try for anything.
He is like the runner in a relay race. He is ready to hand this baton off to an appellate attorney and wash his hands of this whole mess, which I'm sure he was
totally.
It probably felt like getting onto an oily beach to help ducks and penguins and other wildlife, that was affected by an oil spill. Then you realize, like,
you're just cleaning rocks.
it's hot and it sucks and all the animals are gone already. And you go like, why did I sign up for this? It was my birthday and Christmas present.
Yeah.
So Krista cut together all this footage. It comes from the Law and Crime Network. So if you want to see the long form, you can see it there, or in Court TV had great coverage also.
Yeah, Thomas is on time for once. So, okay, to just unpack what I edited, I do not have any of the victim impact statements. I cut that out. It was obviously like sad. It was all of his family, his kids, and everybody were just talking to the judge about how much.
We're not here to like denigrate I don't need to throw like another spoonful of shit onto the pile that Sarah left once she stepped down from the stand. So we're just going over like the stuff that isn't.
This is just everybody that came to speak on Sarah's behalf, and also Dr. Harper, who came, and it's a lot. Her stuff is a lot of like talking about her life and things, but the state attorney came in and questioned her, made like a question, and it was a very long-winded one, but it was gold. I tried not to like spoil myself, or rather, give myself spoilers, but it's impossible, right? Like, it wasn't 3 seconds until like the verdict was in where I heard like guilty, life, in prison. Like, okay. So I went ahead and watched a little bit. I got a little bit of it unpacked for me.
it's astounding that nobody that Sarah knew IRL shows up. It's all like her celly, like the lady she was going to give a kidney to, like nobody.
Oh, she's on here. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nobody from the past, like her real
Correct.
life. They all like met her.
This is all from jail and beyond.
Yeah, like
in the last 4 years.
This is AJ after George, but BJ before George. Nobody showed up to be like, yeah, Sarah Boone, not that bad.
Yeah, her neighbors, nobody showed up.
I can't imagine being in a situation where it's like, okay, I need character witnesses. Who can I get? My celly, nailing that credibility wise, and like, who doesn't believe? Like,
They help each other on their cases.
yeah, they're best friends. The person who like she wanted to give a kidney to, and like, yeah, as if, right? She gets out. First thing she does is ghost that bitch hardcore.
Right.
Like, a kidney? What? She's gonzo. She's out of Florida. She's like hiding out in Michigan somewhere.
Right, Rachel. We're not here for classy.
Yeah, no. There's no such thing in this case.
The family did make very classy remarks.
Yeah, that's the thing. I want to commend like George's family because like that's the thing. You should probably see the long form version of this if you haven't already.
Yeah.
Because like the stuff that George's mom says, like, Sarah, I forgive you and all this stuff. And she's that magnanimous parent who's able to do things that most of us probably couldn't. And then to just have Sarah turn her hippo ass around and just like muck spray the family, metaphorically. So moral of the story is we're going to watch a bunch of stuff that is not Sarah, and then Sarah is at the end. So we'll get to like have that as the coup de grace. So let's get rolling.
Could you state and spell your name for the record for us, please?
Diane Smith, Dianesmith.
Okay, thank you very much. Counselor, you may inquire.
And Ms. Smith, tell the court a little bit about you.
No.
I was a chaplain at the 33rd Street Jail for 30 years.
Nice.
And have you been a chaplain at the jail here in Orange County?
Yes, Orange County Jail.
Texas.
Is it the same
For
jail
30
you
years.
referred to?
Uh-huh.
Okay. And during that period of time, did you have occasion to meet with Sarah Boone?
I did.
It does feel like this woman is a little
Yes.
drunk. It feels like I've heard the chat like she's been hitting the communion wine.
She's on the stand at the podium for like 90 seconds, and it just seems like
She's so wobbly because probably the defense guy like realized like as the first question like it left his mouth was in the air on the way to her ears, and he goes, "This was a mistake."
And was it over the course of how long?
I've known her 4 years.
30 years.
And if you could, tell the court what you'd like to say.
Okay. Well, I first met Sarah. She came in. We have a Christian dorm, and Sarah enrolled in our Christian program.
How big do you think the Hindu dorm is there?
And she was in my classes for a year, and she was very sincere in her efforts to change her life and to be a better person. And I found her very helpful. She was kind and good to people. She loved to serve, and she helped the new girls that would come in, the younger girls. She would mother them and be very kind and very helpful. And then
Did you ever see her mother, Lucas? You weirdo.
after she graduated from the program, I
should
was her
have done a
counselor
helpful
for
count, too.
the other 3 years. And I always found her, very sincere.
The thing about this prison chaplain now, because I didn't realize this was the prison chaplain. Like
Yes.
in my head, she was the one who needed the kidney.
No.
So the fact that she like this is the gender swap version of like the old West preacher who like gave up on the town, like nobody could find Jesus, so he just gets like shit faced all day, and like at best he's just a little buzzed.
And, trying to do better. I spoke with many inmates
the
that
kidney
knew her
ladies
and
over the phone.
was associated with her. And they spoke very highly of her and said that, she was helpful and kind and tried to help other people. And
She'll need a
I
kidney
just
soon,
found
though.
her
She might need a
to
liver.
be, very sincere and trying to be a very good person and change and help people.
I thought
Sarah keeps being a lolcow, like not only in action but like in the vernacular surrounding them, because like the thing that Cyrax is always bitching about is like, you want me to do better, right? Nobody has ever said they want them to do better. I can't remember a single person in Sarah's life anywhere in this recorded case where anyone said, Sarah, I think you should do better. You can do better.
you could do better now.
Like, she was operating at peak efficiency, people. Like, she was living in a condo off $1,000 a month from Brian, occasionally entertaining George when she's not throwing him in prison. She had a fucking bird flag in her yard and a pineapple on her door. She was as fucking good. That was as better as she could get.
You, sir, are too cynical. You should try being more sincere.
Yeah, maybe if I go to jail, we'll see how that happens.
Was the Bible involved at all?
Oh, yes, it was all spiritual.
yes.
That's our,
The Bible.
yes, it's
Yeah, what a great answer. You're the chaplain, ostensibly a preacher in a church, even though it's in a prison. Hey, you use the Bible at all? Several occasions. Yeah, we thumbed through it. You know, pages were there. We would quote it sometimes. Yeah, Bible was always there, right, guys? Sarah?
Sir?
it was spiritual growth.
She had a 1,000-piece
character,
puzzle.
Growth,
Yeah.
growth in character.
That's as many pieces as there were bottles of baby oil in Petey's house.
Trying to just be a better person in general. She
better.
liked to serve other people. She would help the girls wash their clothes and show them around and teach. But spiritually, she grew very, very great spiritually.
Meaning,
Thank you.
That's it. She said the
Christina.
same thing 18 times, and then
Right.
that was it.
here, because
Helpful and sincere.
I can't imagine like having someone so tangential in your life and them asking you to be like, hey, could you like talk to the judge for me?
Can you do me a solid? Talk to the
Like-
judge about how helpful I am.
Like you guys aren't friends. Like this person, this woman is like, she's like fucking Mod Pa Kettle. It's insane. Like, I don't know, whatever. That just goes to show that like Sarah has nothing. Like everybody who was like one step or two steps removed from George showed up in the courtroom. Sarah like can't even get 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon levels of familiarity, right?
Her own ex-husband wouldn't. I mean,
Brian's like, no, thank you. I'm done. Like they got me on body cam. I don't need to be involved in this at all anymore. Thank you very much.
Ma'am, if you could state and spell your name for the record for
hair
us.
was there.
The hair was there,
Christina
All right, you may inquire, sir.
How old are you?
31,
And where do you live?
Orlando.
Prison.
Now, it's my understanding, Ms. Penna, that you were in the county jail with Sarah Boone.
Yes.
How long were y'all in the
I love that judge's mug, dude. That's like a 32-ounce big gulp.
Well, he needs it.
Man, I can't believe he's probably been hanging on that since 1984.
you cell together?
Yes. About
Okay, yes, Rachel, this does feel like her prison girlfriend.
100%. They were.
If you listen to this, you go,
roommates.
they were definitely scissoring. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously, you know what I mean. But like, I can't believe how fast it happened. I don't know how long it would take for me to like seek the arms of another man if I were thrown in jail. Maybe longer than 4 years. I don't know. But like the fact that it's mind blowing.
I was in there for 4 years, but we were together for 3.
Okay. And I understand ultimately the charges against you were dismissed? And so you were released?
She was
on
in
what?
jail for 4 years, and her
ultimately
charges were
released.
dismissed.
I don't know, man.
What
Like,
did you do allegedly that you got
that's
in
the
trouble
thing.
for?
But like, that's. I don't know, man. The law enforcement and criminal justice systems are kind of sketchy. So the fact that this woman is willing to step foot in the courtroom feels like she was guilty and got off. Because otherwise, she'd be like that dude who got locked up for 7 years and like when they let him out, he was like a multi-millionaire because of lawsuits. Like, hello, what is happening, Cookie?
Is it Cookie or Kooky?
Kooky. Kooky. Was it? He was on the Married with Children. Give me your comb is what I'm getting. It's a bad one.
2024?
2023.
2023. So you've been out for a pretty while.
How about that?
I've been out for
Mostly
like
trafficking.
6 or so months now. Yeah.
Kooky.
Since April.
She doesn't even know
of
how
this
long
year,
she's been out of
actually.
jail
Sorry.
for.
April of 2024.
And where are we
And
now?
you said y'all were both based there
Kooky.
together for about 3 years.
Yeah.
I would assume that y'all got to know each other pretty well.
We did.
Okay.
Very well.
If you know what I mean.
And if you'd like to speak on her behalf. to the
Oh boy,
judge.
could I?
Sarah's one of my best friends, my only.
She's very stupid.
Take your time.
Take your time.
Is this an emotional moment for this woman?
Apparently.
Sarah, my best friend. I can't imagine having Sarah as a best friend. Where is your life if, like, you are standing in front of a room full of people willing to admit that?
She's like a big sister.
She's helped me a lot.
She got me out of jail.
Even at like an F28 and the judge, nothing but like, a pixelated image back here, not impressed. Like, he's like Super Mario Brothers, 70 yards away on a TV that no one really is paying attention to. And there he is, just like, yep, go ahead and give it a cry. We'll see how it happens.
Do it, lady. So how can I join up and support you all?
You can click on the link.
The buy me a coffee.
That's about it.
Yeah.
Like and subscribe.
You can subscribe, yeah.
And,
Thomas says, Your Honor, if you'll indulge me, ma'am, when you and Miss Boone cohabitated, was that like a sisters thing or just finger popping?
Finger popping mammies. Yeah. Scissor Sisters. Man, I haven't listened to their music in a long time.
She helps everybody. She's always, I don't know, spirit. She helped me a lot, and
I don't know. That's what I want to hear.
She would come to me. She talked to me all the time.
If you're, this isn't like she got called 30 seconds to be like, hey, can you come do my thing like right now?
Right. That's the only.
Nobody prepares for these things. Write
That's the
something
only
down.
thing these people do is like they put on a clean shirt. Like
allegedly,
like the lady with the kidney who sends in the letter, like she probably took a minute because she had to write it down because she couldn't travel.
Oh, she 100% wrote it down.
And like that's the thing. Like because the prosecution, everybody for the prosecution, they came and unfolded papers, they gave long diatribes and soliloquies and stuff, and like everybody who comes up for Sarah doesn't even pull out a single note card.
Yeah.
They don't, like, she is pretending to cry to vamp because she doesn't know what to say.
Krennic is back there like, when your kids get put on a presentation about why the family needs a dog, but Dad is like, yeah, no, this is a rental, Lisa.
Yeah, that exactly. Like he's the dude showed up watching the kids like talent show, like checking his watch every 14 seconds.
Pick me up when I was down, or if I didn't know something.
David could never be a judge.
No.
She's good. I don't know. She was a good person to me. She just, mistakes happen.
Mistakes happen. People get put in a suitcase.
George's mom is in the room. Mistakes happen. And she's like, who?
She always helped. She always helped people. She was always helping everybody in the dorm. She, even like her artwork, she did
her artwork.
Art.
She did art.
Anybody.
The two things you're going to do if you go to prison, you're going to find Jesus and you're going to do art. And then people will buy it. Like, you'll either... Or you don't have to do both necessarily, but those are the two options for you. Like, you can go into prison and like become a pen pal and like send out a bunch of your clown pictures and or find Jesus. But even then, it's like most of the times like Diane Downs or Susan Smith or whatever, they just go like, I found Jesus and he said I was a cool bitch. And if you don't let me out, you're not cool like JC and me. And then she puts on the meme like toasted glasses.
Any help or needed anything, they'd come to her and they'd help. She'd help
He
them.
can be the lawyer.
Even
Or
if
Jesus
they,
and Scissor.
did wrong
We're
to her,
drinking
she'd
the
still
lawyer,
go
aren't we?
back.
Oh yeah, well yeah, we're having a DeLawyer. If you guys think of a name or rather a flavor for like a Sarah Boone related wine or mead, let me know.
And help them and praise with
Sorry,
them.
I'm late.
and
Did she try to put
pray
the judge
over
in the
them and
suitcase
everything.
yet?
It's just,
Not yet.
Just,
Hello, Maxwell.
Was she a little bit older?
A nice
than
truck.
you? Yeah. How much older was she?
And Ryan.
40, in her 40s.
Did you
How much older than you is she? She's in her 40s.
In her 40s.
That's not a what?
Caveat.
Did you think of her as maybe an aunt or a big sister? What
Big
was?
sister, yeah, she was like
A scissor sister.
big sister.
Sarah
Her
Boone's Farm
sister-
apple wine.
Apple. Yeah, I've got so much apple.
Because I
It's
grew- I
Florida
have
though, so it should be
brothers,
like
so
oranges.
I don't want to do that.
I
Orange.
never
Stab wound flavor.
just we clicked right
Over
away.
the
I don't know.
Boone. Yes.
We'd be walking
Done.
around
Writing that
the
down.
backyard, and she just would always try and talk to me. But I'm
Savory
very a quiet
salmonella.
person, and I don't trust a lot of people.
Is everybody
So for me
drunk?
to open up and
Not yet.
trust
She might be
somebody,
drunk.
it's a lot.
The
Oh,
last
yeah. I mean,
person was drunk.
That's the thing. She could be like on methadone or whatever. Like, everybody who walks into this courtroom and like look at just take a peek at this dude's face. Eyes are closed, just like in his head, like there's that crow playing the fiddle with the dancing donkey, and he's just waiting for this shit to like go away.
So,
The wine should be sold in a small commemorative suitcase.
Yes, and she helped me
You know, custom packaging is so expensive, bro.
a lot with my my case, and I would help her with with hers too.
Turns out her help didn't really matter because they dropped the charges.
Sorry, Ryan. My
Justice
tablet's
is
far,
not-
far away from my eyes.
I don't know how.
Bless you.
Bless you.
We both helped each other.
Cougher and a sneezer in the courtroom today.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ma'am, good afternoon. Could you
Hell yeah. You guys helped each other and you repeated that 40 times? Kralik. I mean, remember that 15 that we gave her on the table? Think we can maybe, let's just call it an even 16, just for the hassle of going through the court.
and spell your name for the record for
Kranich
us?
tasting that sweet,
Mariela Hill,
tangy McRib waiting for him as soon as he
M-A-R-I-E-L-A.
said Sarah bitch to the shadow dimension.
Oh my God. Could you, like, he's got his 7-Eleven, like, big gulp, then, like, he's like, life! And he's like the steam is still coming up because he's got a little like steam tray, like where you see the hot dog carts have to keep his McRib
Last
warm.
name Hill,
Oh, everybody thinks
H-I-L-L.
Sarah is
Thank you. May I proceed,
sincere,
sir?
trusting, and helpful.
Of course, they
Fruit
do.
Irish.
Maybe how else can you describe her that isn't like those are the least personal descriptions. Like when you go through school and they go, look to turn to the person next to you and like tell them 3 things you like about them. And like if you don't know them or you actually hate them, you go like, oh, you're tall and you're responsible. Like your hair is seldom greasy.
Seldom
Like,
greasy.
It's not. This isn't like anyone who came for George, like with anecdotes and personal stories. It's just like, man, she was good. She was a good bitch. Like she came in. We did have the Bibles. We did have them at the, like they weren't pawned for booze money.
Sarah.
Yeah, this woman
In
was in
jail.
jail for 3 months.
I spent 3 months in jail
Oy.
and went through a lot of unfortunate circumstances myself.
All right, now this was in
Hey,
Orange
thanks
County
so much,
Jail here in
Kookie,
Orlando.
for the mead.
And when
Buy
would that
us a
have been?
mead.
Thank you.
Do you recall the dates?
Yes, it was April, from April to June of this year.
Of this year,
2024.
2024.
correct. Yes.
And did you develop a relationship with Sarah Boone over the course of that 3 months?
Yes.
90
Yes,
days. We're best friends.
We met when I was moved to the B dorm, and I needed help with a form that I needed to complete, and one of the COs pointed
I need
to
help with a
Sarah.
form.
Yeah, because
I met
Sarah's the
Sarah.
jailhouse lawyer. Like Sarah spent 4 of her 5 years trying to get a box of papers delivered to her cell, and she's like, she might as well have graduated from like prison Harvard.
Helped me out. And since that moment, we became really good friends. And she was so helpful, so kind, so respectful and loving, not just to me, but to everyone. And I have
So
nothing but
respectful
good
in
things
jail.
say
Loving to
about
everyone.
Her character, her loving heart, and
Look in your heart, Your Honor. Look in your heart. 30 days, we were best friends. 90 days, we were lovers. And then my sentence was up, and I went back to like working at the pick
It's
and
my
save.
husband.
how deep her faith is, her faith in God.
So Rachel, just to address, because we're probably all thinking that, right? Like, did they think this really would work? I believe one person did. That person being Sarah Boone, and her her attorney was basically an autopilot. Sarah Boone probably said, "Here's a list of 6 people I met in the past 4 years. See if you can get them." And he goes, aye, aye, hands it to a paralegal. They send out birthday invites, and these people show up
Birthday invites.
as is. And Sarah is probably, because remember, we, with the benefit of hindsight, know what Sarah says on the stand. So she probably thinks this is just a slam dunk after slam dunk in the face of the judge. Like, his forehead is the backboard, and Michael Jordan is like repeatedly just dunking it into his nose.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing that's going on right now. She is like, yes, fucking nailed it, preacher. And then she passes her like a bottle of like toilet wine.
And believing in
She's
justice
scissored for 30 days, Your Honor. She's very loving.
Lana Lana.
Oh, this is the kidney
Albert, Albert.
Okay. All right, Mr. Owens is going to ask you some questions.
They couldn't
And
figure out
if you
her
could just
video.
answer them, ma'am, I would greatly appreciate it. Sir, you can proceed.
All right, Miss Albert.
Just kidding.
Tell the court a little bit about yourself briefly.
Well, I live in Minnesota. I currently have end-stage renal
Maxwell.
disease.
I had to cut a bunch out because they were telling her how she had to turn her volume down because she was too loud.
Yeah.
Why are you yelling?
It's 2024 and we're still having to be like, turn your radio down, caller. And we have to like walk people through Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
Like this show is not any part of the legal justice system, nor does it have the budget of it. However, I know if I have something planned, I test it beforehand. I don't wait till day of like this live show, right? And I go, hey, we got a special guest and I'm going to treat you to 25 minutes of me messing with Dobbs and Niles and being like, can you hear me now? Give me a sound check. Is this your first day?
She had to leave the Zoom and come back again to try and figure out the camera.
Yeah,
it was
then they
a
had
whole
to add
thing.
each other on Xbox Live because Zoom went down. They were playing Modern Warfare while like, oh, hey, Sarah, what do you think? Frag out. Fucking.
Before I became disabled, I was a business owner in the Twin Cities here.
Dobbs and Niles.
All right, and how old are you?
I am 50 years old.
All right, and you're considered disabled?
Yes, I am.
All right, and have you had an occasion since this
His
event
like mouth is on
to
the
establish a
microphone
relationship
so that she
with
could hear
Sarah
him.
Boone?
Yes, I have. We have been friends for the past a little over 11 months.
And how do y'all communicate?
We've communicated a lot of phone calls, lots of tablet back and forth.
Lots of tablet time. I get my screen time in with my Boone. Fuck, dude.
Virtual scissoring.
I'm not sure. Like, did this person reach out via a pen pal program? Obviously.
So she
it's not like Sarah was like running her finger through a Minnesota phone book and like, oh, that's who I'll write a letter to.
So she seems like the kind of person, because she mentions that she's a fan of true crime. So she feels like the kind of person that would reach out to a bunch of random people.
Yeah, she's a fucking white knighter. So like same thing with a lolcow. You can be a regular old troll, you can be a buddy troll, or you can white knight and be like one of those disgusting pay pigs.
That's
what she's doing. She's a fucking true crime white knighter who will like look at the, the Son of Sam or Richard Ramirez or like Rodney Alcala and be like, mistakes happen and I can like, and meanwhile, like, if they were out, cut to 15 minutes later and they're rifling through your intestines like they're, clawing through your purse looking for a Werther's. Like, pull your head out of your ass, guys. Stop.
Yeah.
Like, Sarah, she's like, hey, Sarah, I'm sick. I'm an end-stage renal failure. Oh, whew, I'll give you a kidney.
Hey, Rodney was framed and you know it.
And a lot of letters as well. I'd say many hours
Ryan says we
of
should have
time spent
testified
with each other.
for the prosecution.
All right, and you want to speak on
But I'm just part of the devilish social media that will
her behalf here today?
And Rachel, it is weird that he asked everybody
I
their
would,
age.
please.
All right, would you please tell the court what you would like for the court to know?
Great.
Thank you very much. And thank
You're
you
welcome.
very much, Your
Bye.
Honor,
See ya.
for the privilege of speaking on behalf of my friend Sarah Boone.
My bestie. My virtual
I also
bestie.
want to extend my heartfelt condolences to everyone here affected by this terrible tragedy, which has brought us all here and listening in.
Doesn't this feel like a Thanksgiving prayer now?
Yeah,
like
dear
I'd like
Lord.
to, just bless everybody for bringing us here today.
Thanks for Sarah for bringing us all together.
Sorry, everybody, that we had to be here. It's a horrible accident.
Yep.
Where have you been for 5 years?
Many articles and videos and opinions of
Thomas.
Sarah have gone out in the airways and on the webs. Opinions that have been formed and commented on so much that it's hard not to give in.
Right, you go into the YouTubes, you read them damn comments by those damn dirty trolls, those salacious, or what did she call them? The what'd she call the detective? The scoundrel detectives, trolls.
Temptation to treat people like a comic book or a
This is
fictional
radio.
character.
Might be.
I just got
In the case
radio.
of my friend Sarah, the words narcissist, Karen, villain, many other
Karen.
things, they roll off the tongue with little regard to the humanity that is dismissed so flippantly. And under a lot of circumstances, I was one of those people as I have a...
Because I killed someone in a suitcase, got away with it, and I'm dying, so you can't get me. Huh?
Love of true crime. And becoming friends with Sarah has shown me that there's a lot more depth to the people I see on the screen. I'd like to share with the world and with the court about the Sarah Boone that I know.
Oh, boy.
Sarah Boone is a kind, honest, and good person.
And sincere.
I'm a moron. I'm a sycophant for murderers. My moral compass constantly spins. Please take my word as gospel.
Mm-hmm.
The Sarah Boone I know is one who loves animals, especially...
I don't know why this always makes me think. Anytime a pen pal or the idea of a pen pal comes up, it takes me back to Pee-wee's Playhouse, where Pee-wee was talking to his pen pal, and he's like, "Oh, I got a pen pal. Here's a shalom, Pee-wee. My name is Shalomo." From Israel.
And who are damaged and defenseless. How many of us would take in poor love for a hearing impaired and a sight impaired pair of dogs?
Yeah.
She has a natural instinct to help reach out and give of herself. Her time and energy and love, especially to those who are hurting or damaged.
Kidneys.
You all have seen her fight for her own life and truth here. I tell you this, she fights even harder for those she loves, giving time, attention, and companionship without a single thought.
This is down-home country stupidity.
That's
for her own gain,
her name,
or what somebody can do for her.
I forget.
Maxwell, dog.
I forget
One
what her name
huge
was.
example is in the matter of our friendship.
Look at these poor people.
As I said before, I have end-stage renal disease caused by a genetic illness called polycystic kidney disease. As
This isn't about you. Keep it moving.
my life has progressed, things I have taken for granted have been taken away from
The
me.
cameraman's bored.
I could not appear in court in person because I can no longer walk.
This is one of those people, right, where since they're not in the court, the cameraman feels the artistic license or the liberty to like look over it. But like that's one of the things is like you want to see the juicy shit. Like I guarantee that the peanut gallery and all involved and all of Georgia's family were going ape shit while she was on the stand, but there's no way that cameraman can cut away for even a second.
Right.
But like that's what you get with the one camera shoot. You want to see both. You want to see the action on the field and the reaction of the people in the stands.
Yeah.
Treatments have affected the circulation
That's her pen
of my
pal
legs.
girlfriend.
They're like Sarah got thrown in jail and found girlfriends across the country.
Yeah.
This confined me to a
Oh, I've
wheelchair.
got to go to court. Better wear my
To
best
say that
Wolverine
my life has
t-shirt.
radically
hell yeah.
changed is an understatement.
I'm gonna break out of that thing.
Through it all, I have many friends and family I love and cherish. Sarah has
I
distinguished
love that
herself
lawyer's
differently in
name.
this way.
Also kooky. Mr. Cacciatore.
Mr. Cacciatore.
Mr.
In the course of getting to know
Chicken
her,
Cacciatore.
I started
Gabagool.
sharing the progressing state of my health. It was like lightning had struck her.
I get that once a
The
month.
moment Sarah had learned the depth of my struggles health-wise, she straight up offered strenuously to donate a kidney to me.
She pulled a Paula Abdul, right, guys?
Strenuously.
Straight up. Now tell you, do you really want my kidney forever? She did. I'll give it to you if I get out. Caveat.
Yeah. Caveat.
I gotta tell you this. I hope
She's gonna be an erotic lesbian author. The wrong kidney.
The wrong kidney.
The wrong scissor.
she's not mad for me showing this, but she had no hesitation, no concern over personal risk or personal gain.
And also knowing that there was no way in hell anyone would make this happen on any planet or any other timeline.
I want to convey to this out and around the world that is merely offering is a good and heroic act. I've had many friends. I've not had one outside of my brother who has offered me a kidney. That is huge. I don't have anything of equal value to give to her.
Not to like dog someone unnecessarily, but like if you were a really good person, wouldn't people be knocking down the door to give you a kidney? Like, because everybody's got two of them. Like, if you're such a giving person, like there's one person in your life. I don't know how many people would want to give me a kidney, probably zero. But then I wouldn't bring it up, right? Like if I were dying of kidney failure and no one wanted to give me one, I would be like,
Dialysis it is.
and then by some stretch of the imagination, a nearly convicted murderer says they'll give me their kidney. No one in my life would give me a kidney. Everybody's got two. It's one of the things you can safely donate to save someone you love.
Thomas says he'll throw you a kidney.
Thank you. I hope you don't become a murderer. And because it'll be really hard to collect if I do need
it's
it.
true.
But like, Jesus Christ, the absurdity.
I'm screenshotting this for
not
evidence.
the actions of a narcissist.
Yeah, show me the back of your driver's license if you're an organ donor.
Do you have me your social?
She did it as a reflex action. As
Says
a good
kidneys
person.
in no kind of shape. Yeah, probably not.
As a reflex action, as a good person.
After the verdict came, and
She read the letter saying, I need a kidney, and as if a doctor had smashed her in the knee, I'll give you a kidney.
October, we spoke that night.
Jameson will give you his when he's done
And
with
I
it.
hope Sarah doesn't get mad at me again for disclosing this, but out of all the shock and seriousness of what had happened in the court,
Oh, and
the
that's
thing that made her emotionally break
his
was
Jorge's
that she
daughter.
realized she could no longer be a donor to me.
Yeah,
think.
I mean, I was sitting there like, hey, it's going to be okay. But she was so broken up, she couldn't help me.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So broken
That's
up.
a friend. She is not, nor does she come up
Intentional.
anywhere
Oh, sorry.
remotely close to being a narcissist.
Imagine, oh my God. Like, could you imagine if this bitch, knowing what we know when she gets on the stand, being like, just like that phrase in a caption hanging in the courtroom, Sarah is not and will never be a narcissist or whatever the fuck, and it's just like hanging there in a balloon, right? We all remember that happened for later.
And one more thing before I go.
Baba Booey, Howard 13 is...
Social media has worked to rip the blindfold off of Lady Justice
Oh my God.
to take the sword out of her right hand and start assassinating Sarah's character.
Yeah, thanks Elon for Twitter. No one calls it X. Mark for Facebook. You guys are assholes. You guys are unjust to Sarah, my friend, who would have given me a kidney. I don't see Mark Zuckerberg offering anybody a kidney.
However, the scales are the balance. As it says in Psalm 85, mercy and
God.
truth are met together. Righteousness and peace have kissed each other. Justice isn't justice without mercy. Our pursuit of righteousness isn't...
Now injustice and corruption fondle the balls of criminality.
Ryan says, I tried to donate a kidney once, but they ask so many questions. Whose kidney is this? Why is it in an igloo cooler? Why are you covered in blood?
Listen, do you need a kidney or not?
Just be grateful.
Then they also questioned the Dear Boss letter he had in his other hand.
and right without peace. Thank you, Your Honor, for
We're all
the
about to
honor
get
of
locked
speaking
up
for...
due to social media criminal conspiracy.
It'll be like when Metallica came after everybody who downloaded music on Napster.
Yeah.
Just like people kicking in the doors and be like, hey, is this the account of a TikToker named Scooch Madooch?
This person is definitely wearing
I hope that your
Cheetos.
justice
Cheetos?
here today.
Oh, Chinos,
Thank
sorry.
Cheetos.
If you could, Dr. State, and spell your name
Oh,
for the
this is
record.
Dr.
for us, please.
Harper.
Dr.
State.
Julie Harper, Julieharper.
I probably could have cut a lot of this out, but she talks about her
I think that during
her family and things like that, like how she has like PTSD from growing up and all this stuff.
That's another thing I don't like about hired experts, right? Because you're not an expert if you well, I guess so. If you get a bunch of money to look at something, you're automatically biased. Whether it's I don't like it for the prosecution or the defense. I don't like an expert coming in because when you're cashing a check from a establishment who asks you to do something, it feels like maybe 7 or 8 times out of 10, you're going to get the thing you paid for. Like, I don't know. We've seen enough scumbag motherfuckers who show up in a courtroom and take their $10,000 or whatever it is to be like, oh, yeah, it was all great. And they're PTSD and they throw a bunch of bullshit around and they typically get eviscerated on cross. But that doesn't But who gives a fuck, right? Like if I were just a shyster scumbag, like an expert witness and like some defense attorney or some prosecution person goes, oh, here's a check, come on in. I would be like, great, because you know that no matter how hard the other side goes at you, you get to leave.
Yeah.
You're not going to prison. You get to cash a check and be like, well, good luck, Sarah, or whoever.
Right. Welcome, Carolina.
Happening.
Melissa says, why would Sarah get all these character witnesses gathered up knowing she's about to end up there and blame everyone and say she's the only victim?
Because that's the thing, man. Like, we talked about this before, but like, Sarah thinks that every one of these people is gaining her ground.
Mm-hmm.
In Sarah's mind, everything that is her decision and is from her warped reality is a good idea. Because on what planet would anybody look at anyone else, right? Like if Sarah's best friend went up there and was like, fuck you and you're a bitch and George was an asshole, she'd go like, oh my God. But if she does it herself, you know, our blind spot is directly behind these two things.
Right.
So she's just like, you know, in her mind, she is seeing those cheesy bowling strike animations like the AMF lanes where like we're now beyond the turkey. Like there's a baseball or a bowling ball pin blimp that's getting destroyed by a rain of bowling balls. And in her mind, she's just waiting for the ceiling to open and that one balloon that says perfect game to bounce on the floor.
Perfect
testimony,
game.
I reviewed all of the documents, excuse me, and all of the records that were available.
Scooch
They're
Magooch was
documented in
Ryan's
my
nickname in
report
high
as
school.
well.
I knew it.
In addition to the forensic clinical interviews that I conducted, I also
She interviewed,
have had the opportunity
her
to talk
brother.
to her brother,
Oh, there you go.
Philip Paulson, in the interim since the trial, and I included his information in my report as to her family background.
She seems like a very like
If you could,
like a mousy, not very good.
Right, but that's what that's the species of expert witness, right? This isn't a hard and fast rule. Maybe it's bullshit. Maybe I'm making it up, but it feels like this. Typically, prosecution expert witnesses come in and they are very like no nonsense. They don't fuck around. Whereas like defense people come in, you have a much higher chance of them being like, no, I don't know, because like they're for the defense and all they've got to do is like not ask any hard questions.
Right.
Because like a real therapist would ask a bunch of hard questions and probably get to the root of the matter instead of just being like, okay, George is dead. Now let's sort of backpedal a theory as to why you did that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Lynn says, I wonder if Kidney Lady reads comments to Sarah. Oh, 100%. Like, what else are they going to talk about on their
that
tablet
was like
time?
90% of their tablet time, right? Like it's what JoJo Siwa was reading her hate comments. Like, holy shit.
What you uncovered maybe from the brother, whatever you think the court needs to hear this relevant material to his decision in this case.
So referring to the summary section of my report, I'll keep it brief, but I'll
Thank
outline
God.
the highlights that I feel like haven't been conveyed before, which is an understanding of Ms.
Which I should have
Boone's
done at the
early
trial,
family
probably.
life, in that she is the middle child of her parents' union, and that her parents did not have a happy marriage.
She had middle
They
child
didn't,
syndrome.
provide an opportunity to have a good role model as to how to
I don't understand why these explanations are trotted out, right? Because like if you're accused of something, you go, well, I was this, I was that, whether I was addicted to video games, the middle child or the youngest child, you can work your childhood, like reverse engineer it into anything you want.
Mm-hmm.
But like the argument that always demolishes that is like, how many middle children are there out there and how many of them commit murder?
Right. How many
Like, the
people don't
ratio-
have
no,
good...
Yeah, you can't look and say like, well, it's because of this that blah blah blah. Because like human existence is such an intricate web of interactions and nonverbal gestures and understandings. So to have some idiot come up and be like, well, let's just do away with nuance and be like, well, middle child syndrome, never got a Barbie pink Corvette, and then George is dead. You know what I mean, Your Honor? Can I leave?
She didn't have a great relationship with her dad. Well, neither did I, but I haven't put
Ms. Boone
David in
was
a
born
suitcase.
in close proximity to her youngest brother, 11 months apart. And in my clinical experience and training, I would say that that disrupted her attachment with her mother, some being close in proximity with her younger
And her
brother.
mother looked exactly like
whose
George, which is
temperament
why
just
she's
seemed to
bringing
suit
it up.
a relationship with her mother better than her own.
Right. She had a normal childhood, basically.
Why didn't she just Gypsy Rose her mom then? Why did she take it out on George, right? Oh, terrible mother? George seems like the
30-something
appropriate
years
target.
later.
So ultimately, Ms. Boone bonded
Did you
with her
all
father.
notice how many times Lana
though he
Albert
wasn't-
says, I hope Sarah doesn't get mad at me that Sarah... Right. Yeah, like, I hope she doesn't get mad for saying this, but...
Right, because it's all theater. Like,
you know she read that letter to Sarah before this.
well, yeah, because you know that they were exchanging ideas and stuff. They seem like writing partners because, like, if you take Sarah's speech that we'll hear later and suck out all the vitriol, that's what you get. It's like that lady's, smoker, coffee drinker monologue.
Described by either child as an affectionate person. He was somebody that was there for her at sporting events and
George is going to put the bill for that
in
one.
that way. His untimely death by heart attack during her high school years was marked by her brother as a turning point for her in how she was acting at home, her demeanor, her relationship with her.
Right, but this has as much bearing as her being a straight A student, right? Like if we as a society go straight A student, you're 40, and we go ha ha ha, but then we go, well, a little before that, her dad died.
Yeah.
We go, well, so?
Mother took a turn for the worse as she was not coping well. She was using substances based on what her brother was saying. And it is my opinion that that early lack of foundational relations with her mom and not feeling very secure, the death of her father, destabilized her. That's a period of your life when you're leaving high.
Right, you're Lady Boz. Who doesn't have? Obviously, a lot of people don't, because like, what kind of society would we be living in? But like, I feel like everybody has someone in their family who has, nobody has lived a perfect life. Like, I can think of all the times that I got the short shrift of things because people in my life possibly carried this or that diagnoses, undiagnosed by a whatever.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. You can't. There's no excuse. Like, that's. We just call it a defense, but it's an excuse. Like, it's. George is dead. No matter what Sarah says, George is still dead. And she's like leapfrogged from lawyer to lawyer and strategy to strategy. And now we're just trying to throw everything at the wall to see what sticks. And it looks like a food fight in a cafeteria.
Yeah.
When you should have formed a very solid foundation to go out in the world. And I don't think that that's what she had at that moment.
But she was a straight A student.
She bonded easily with Mr. Boone, and you can see that there are elements of that early difficulty with her relationships because she took on a parentified role, in my opinion, during that relationship.
Because she got knocked up and had a kid. Yeah, she took on the parental role after, the sperm and the egg came together and they created another life force. So she stepped into that role as if she had any other.
Therefore, there's
she wasn't going down to Kane's Chicken and she accepted her role as like the deep fryer and batterer, right?
a power imbalance in that she was making decisions and not, again, having an equal relationship. I think that led her to a sense of being a need to be right, a need to feel like she is the one that's making good decisions.
Right, that's the thing. You guys are all like echoing my sentiments because I feel like if you have any sort of working relationship with reality, you'll realize that life isn't a bed of roses, and it's incumbent upon you, the end user, to gain enough self-awareness to target and wipe out all of your foibles and or toxic traits. The worst, but not to bring up a Dante's Inferno reference, the things that work towards something only become more perfect. So where Sarah has no self-awareness, just sunk into making her manipulative and toxic traits polished to a mirror shine.
Yeah.
Whereas anybody else who had a little self-awareness would go maybe I'll buy 1 bottle of Magnum wine a week instead of 7, and they make those steps. No matter how small, you have to have that self-awareness to lift yourself up. Whereas so you're aiming toward a state of perfection. Only one is you're a functional student. You're a functional straight A student. You're a functional adult who doesn't have to bring up the fact you were a straight A student. Or you're just a toxic mess who gives someone like me paroxysms and fits when I see a bird flag in your yard. Because I go, how? And the pineapple.
Lady Boss says, don't let her be in charge of inmates counseling them. She's going to start that pattern all over again, 100%.
Hurt people.
And I think that.
But by the time they're in prison, it's just going to be her revolving door of les girlfriends who are spending anywhere from 90 days to 4 years.
That led to some behaviors that she carried over into her relationship with Mr. Torres, in that she's parentified around him and acting more like a parent-child relationship.
Because she
being
treated him like a
facilitator,
child.
Housing.
Right. And Lynn, yeah, she
applications
couldn't
for
even
jobs and
admit that
things
she was
like
an
that. So
alcoholic.
again, there's
No,
a
because
power
she only
imbalance
drank
that I
because
think,
George made her.
Now that's the thing. Like,
She couldn't drink alone.
he was, whatever. They both played a part, right? But like he had a crippling, debilitating addiction to alcohol, and she was getting alimony and had a roof over her head. Mm-hmm. It doesn't, sure, flies are attracted to vinegar and honey, and you catch more with one or the other. But like if you're just looking for one toxic fly to buzz around and get sent off to jail so you can actually bail them out and bring them back to your bowl of vinegar.
Right.
Was
The pineapple
very
leaves more
seriously
questions than answers.
misaligned.
I'm saying, like that apartment made me so confused.
The property manager of their
Did
apartment
you see the two detectives that
had
interrogated her?
verified they saw
This was
her
like
being
Saturday Night Live.
abused, physically abused in serious ways, or the effects of the abuse in bruising or calls to them. It is my opinion that she called for help, but when people got tired of her not leaving Mr. Torres, they stopped responding to those calls.
Right, because remember that old story, guys? Maybe it's just old man Dave and like, morals and Aesop fables and like morality tales are de rigueur, out of fashion, right? But the boy who cried wolf, like he fucking got eaten by a wolf at the end because he wouldn't shut the fuck up about, lying about stuff. But in that situation, like, yeah, everybody turns away because Sarah goes, wolf, wolf. And so they haul George the wolf away. And that's where this metaphor sort of breaks down, because as they turn away, like in the story, Peter gets killed. But in this one, like, it's as if, like, everybody, it's like the Simpsons one, right? Where, like, the wolf is attacking Bart and, like, Willie comes in and wrestles the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
But, like, that would be if, like, when the cops turn around, like, Macho Man Randy Savage runs in from, like, off frame and just, like, delivers an elbow into George's head and splatters it all over the concrete. You go, well, but the morality is, like, don't be an asshole.
Right. Remember, you said boy who cried wolf. In her interrogation, she talked about George being a boy who cried wolf. Right. She thought when she goes, Sarah.
Because it's projection. Locals, and Sarah as a locale do this. They point the finger at other people in their life and say exactly who they are in reference to the other person.
Yeah.
And that's where we are.
Basically, Ms. Boone handled things on her own, and as other people with healthier boundaries probably would have left, acting out the pattern
You didn't have to take a shower.
of intimate partner violence did not leave. She stayed long past when it would have been smart for others, or others would have said to.
She stayed in the place that she kept asking him back to. It's not like she was someone desperate to flee a farmhouse in the middle of Kentucky in the night because you know that your abusive drunk farmer husband is going to blast you with a double barrel. Like, she owned the car. She owned the condo. She was the one supplying him with the booze. Like, that would be like saying that a person who owns a caged bird is the one who's the prisoner. Like, at any point, you could have left the house, but no, you stayed, and then the macaw broke out and clawed your eyes out. What?
Sorry.
Like, the jailer couldn't escape the prison, so eventually he had to kill one of the prisoners. I don't remember reading that in Aesop's Fables.
The undergirding of that not leaving the relationship is a long-term anxiety problem that became post-traumatic stress disorder. There is an earlier instance of exposure to traumatic stress in that she was the person in the hospital after her father died who found him having students perform CPR on his dead body.
This may be a good reference. It's kind of true crime, but not really. Like, remember that SVU episode where, like, they find out that Finn's son is gay and, like, they're going around to all those clubs and, like, the guy, like, the murderers are all revolving around dudes who are passing AIDS to each other. Like, and they were like, oh, back in the old days, like, there would be bowls of condoms at these dance clubs. How is there not literally a bowl of halls outside of every courtroom?
Take one. Everybody just take one.
Raise the level of the municipal, like, standard? Because it'll help. Like, you're giving medicine to the sick, for God's sake.
So that
Sarah
was an
did
early
look pretty
exposure
pale
to high
in this,
traumatic stress,
in her
witnessing
sentencing.
It's probably stage fright.
that incident, and based on her brother's description, that was something that changed her. When a person is exposed to numerous compounding stressors, their adrenaline system is changed. It alters your body.
Duh.
And things that might be an otherwise neutral situation, you tend to have a cascading adrenaline
Oh, yeah, Carol, you know what's up.
response to that.
Thomas says
And I
the only
think
thing that bugs me is that everything is an academic examination to people like this lady. You can write a thesis on Sarah's descent into abuse, but you can also just say that she's a fucking asshole.
That's why I'm saying, man, like, we live in a world where, like, you can be a braying, drunk, 98-pound hillbilly and toss someone in a suitcase, and, like, there's no expert witnesses, there's no higher learning think tank out there, like, with clipboards weighing the pros and cons of locking George in a suitcase. And it's but like that, we have to live in that world because, like, whereas Sarah, you know, worked outside the law, delivering vigilante justice to George in her head anyway. I feel like it's galling as a human, but as an elevated life form, I'm glad that we have this sort of stuff because, God forbid, any of you get accused of a crime you weren't, and I would rather not live in a society where, like, murderers and the criminal justice system give equal amounts of time and weight. Like, in cases like this, it's obvious, right? Because she fucking recorded the whole thing. It's an open and shut case. And this is where it's the most galling. In most cases where they don't have an open and shut case, you go, whoa, what the fuck? This one is just like, we all see what's going on here.
Right. Yeah.
And that's why it's so annoying. Because we all have to live in this shared reality, and then because of some rules in a book and the spirit versus the letter of the law, we have to stand in the big circle, open up our ass cheeks, and let someone blow smoke into our buttholes for a few minutes, and then go like, very interesting.
For her, as she succumbed to other instances of serious physical abuse from her partner, became post-traumatic stress disorder. I do think that that is a condition that is still existent even while she's in jail. It's something that she needs treatment for because those triggers are unmitigated, meaning that she hasn't really
Look at the back of her
had
hair.
the kind of
It looks like she
therapy to
just
address
didn't
them
brush
and
it this
reduce
morning.
her
Like, she
adrenaline
woke
and
up-
anxiety response.
She took as much care in her personal appearance as the rest of her expert witnesses.
Responses when she thinks of past instances of traumatic events that have happened to her. You can also respond to post-traumatic stress disorder clinically by using antidepressant therapy, and that would be something that could assist her ultimately.
She does have a little bit of Mike Myers there. Like, if she turns around, she's just like a bone white Shatner.
Reducing symptoms if she had counseling and antidepressant therapy.
You know,
Seriously.
Melissa, to address that, how many people have bad childhoods and aren't
packing up their partners?
Yeah, like 99.99 for infinity percent. I
Seriously.
feel like Sarah is the only one to go like, suitcase?
Yes.
Bad childhood.
Now, Dr. Harper, I know that you had testified at the trial that, in your opinion, she suffered as a battered spouse, the syndrome that is legally recognized in Florida, in the courts of Florida.
Again, it's like a fucking like wild animal poacher pointing to, like, when his warehouse is raided, he points over to like a cage full of chimpanzees and he goes, they made me do it. I was battered poacher syndrome. Like, what?
That's correct.
And I understand
That's
that is tied to this intimate partner violence, which is maybe the same thing, but there's a complex mental health issue that ties into that. Can you speak on the complexity of that whole
Do you think a majority of cases like this that are like open and shut and like obvious, the judge comes into these sentencing hearings already knowing their decision and this stuff isn't going to change it?
In most cases, I would say probably not, or at least I would hope not. But this is a unique case because it does feel, at least to me, that Mr. Kralik, Judge Kralik, when he woke up that morning, he had the same thought he'd had for the past 2 months. 2 months. Sarah's getting life.
Yeah.
Because you cannot, and even if he did not think that, it was like chiseled into his brain like stone as soon as she took the stand.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so that's the thing. Let's slather that bullshit cake with a heavy dollop of icing that is we'll give you a 15-year sentence, i.e. you'll be out in 8 or 9 years. No. In your face, bitch. We're taking this to trial.
Yep.
How could you not get life, motherfuckers? Like, have you ever looked a gift horse in the mouth, whipped your dick out, and helicoptered in front of it, and then expected the horse?
So, intimate partner violence is not a diagnosis.
Ice truck.
It's a pattern of events that occur between two partners in which the power dynamic is altered by the physical abuse or behaviors that are controlling in nature to the point that someone's safety is threatened.
So it turns out Sarah's brother's into children. He probably has a story about he's being in a dark place. I mean, we've all seen True Blue or Chris Hansen and come on down and have a seat with Chris Hansen and To Catch a Predator and
all
hey
the things
there,
with Chris Hansen.
There, it's True Blue with Chris Hansen, right?
It's common for
Chris Hansen with
victims
the
of that to have a complex mental health condition, often including
we could probably
depression,
make one, Thomas.
anxiety, and substance abuse problems. And what might be substance abuse to cope with the problem, like numbing oneself, will sometimes result in its own diagnosis.
Oh, no shit. So if you take a drug or drink alcohol to cope with your problems, you may receive a diagnosis of a clinical addict?
Whoa.
Bitch, are you a straight A student?
Are you for real?
Are you a straight A? Did you go to school with Sarah Boone? Hot damn, bitch.
The pattern of intimate partner violence, I think we covered in the trial, but just in summary about that, there are phases in which at first the bonding of the two partners might be something positive. They've got something in common or have pleasurable time together.
Crippling addiction.
And then the secondary phase of that is when there is change in dynamic and some kind of traumatic event occurs, some instance of physical violence. And then there's a third phase in which it's like a honeymoon phase where they're trying to right the relationship. So in phase one, when they're having something pleasurable, the tone shifts.
Honeymoon
phase two, there is some kind of incident. And phase three, there's a honeymoon phase. As that pertains to anxiety, I think that a person who suffers from intimate partner violence never stops experiencing.
Oh, she was totally the aggressor.
Oh, 100%.
She's not a survivor of anything. That's like that's what I'm saying. Like it's the zookeeper pointing to the trained tigers and going, "They're the ones at fault that I had to subject them to horrible torture for the amusement of carnival goers or whatever." It's just like this is the thing. There is different levels of delusion and projection. Like typically what I run into is like your over-the-counter delusion, like with lol cows, pointing the finger and saying exactly what they are to a void of trolls, right? This is clinical, legal, commercial grade delusion, where it's delusion on so many different levels. It's not only your delusion, but it's this clinical idiot's delusion and everybody else who sort of buys into it to justify it. Mm-hmm. Whereas most of the time we all look at those people. One guy really was cooking me in the comments about how I wasn't doing enough to like stop narcissism. But like, what do you do? Right. Who has the hours in the day, right? She's a clinical, delusional weirdo, and nobody in her life wants to interact with her for any longer than absolutely necessary. Mm-hmm. So who is going to be the actual Mother Teresa saintly figure to step up and like try to help a narcissist figure out that they're a narcissist?
Yeah, no.
And while you're at it, try to figure out how to tell fire it's hot. Get me?
Hypervigilance, waiting for the next instance of violence to occur. So even though they may look happy, they might be experiencing something positive, they've not really relaxed.
Exactly.
Because their memory that could or will occur again is still in their mind. So they haven't fully stopped experiencing intimate partner violence. It's just what phase of the process they're in.
Yeah, she's a little
Dr.
gobbler.
Harper, it goes into more detail in your report, which I supplied to the court. Dr. Harper, you're aware that the defense has filed a defense motion for downward departure.
Yes.
And we've listed several factors under paragraph 3, the capacity of the defendant to appreciate the criminal nature of her.
These people back here are like judge interns. Like
Yeah.
this is their first day and they're training. Like, hey, well, you three, come on in with me. I'll show you the ropes of judging.
I've been wondering what they were. If you guys in the comments know who
I'm
they
sure
are,
they have official jobs. But like, it's just
they don't have
weird that they're
computers in
so-
front of them. They're just like hanging out.
Actions and conform with the requirements of law or
I
substantial.
mean, what else is he going to do? He's on
Yeah.
the clock. And he's waiting for Sarah to pay him back $50 a year for the rest of her miserable life.
They're law students.
Oh, damn. So, yeah, there are interns.
That she requires specialized treatment for a mental disorder that is not related to substance use or addiction, although you agree that she does suffer from alcohol use.
Oh, okay. So they're his kids.
Classic
His kids.
interns. His kids. Hey, kids. Yeah,
Hey,
he's got 2 daughters and a balding middle-aged son.
We got a doozy today.
Jeremy, want to come to work with Daddy? And he's like, Dad, I'm 52. And you're 56. How does this work?
Health disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, and I additionally diagnosed her with alcohol use disorder, which is separate.
But you agree she does require specialized treatment
Owens
for a
makes
mental
everybody
disorder that's not related
Yeah.
to substance use or addiction?
That's correct.
And you agree she's amenable for treatment?
Yes.
And you would agree that she acted under extreme duress in this unique
Extreme duress.
homicide case?
Yes.
Hella unique. Like, this is the first time Samsonite is getting, like, bad press. Like,
Yeah, right?
And you would agree that the uniqueness of the
I love when he
circumstances,
finishes
the
with
facts
her and the state
circumstances
kicks her ass to the podium, to the
the unsophisticated man.
stand.
Yes.
And it was isolated.
That's my understanding as well. but-
Other than she had the charge where she was
That
both of
one
them were charged
charge.
at one time, and I think she had the strangulation.
So not isolated. Here's the thing. Isolation means you're alone. You're standing in a field of your own. So to say that was totally isolated, except for you just fucked yourself over.
Allegation, the felony case that was ultimately dismissed when both of them were arrested.
She had a prior felony case. The facts are different, of course, than this particular case over here today.
Great, cool, thank you.
Dr. Harper, I believe that's all the questions I've got, unless you would like to say, if I've missed anything, of course.
No, I think
Okay.
She's like, I'm fucking done. Can I leave now?
Remember how many zeros were on that check when I asked you
Right.
to like riff a little for fuck's sake?
yes.
Any questions?
Yes, may she take the stand so I can take the podium?
Yes, that's
Get
fine.
your ass out of here. You need to take the podium.
In pages 1 and 2 of your report, you go through the sources of your information, correct?
This is amazing. It's
And that would
long.
include 8 interviews
winded.
that you had with her from the course of August of 2020 through September of 2024, correct?
There were 9 interviews, but 8 dates of service are listed.
That's how we bill insurance, by date of service.
Yep.
You did the Miller Forensic Assessment of Symptoms Test, or MFAST.
That's right.
Inventory of Legal Knowledge, ILK.
Sarah is eating
That's
all
right.
this stuff up.
Clinic-
I heard Owen say that Sarah was justified to do what she did to a reporter after this. Damn.
Administered PTSD Scale 5 examination.
Yes.
You consulted with her attorney.
Yes.
Videotaped interviews.
And I'm sure
from this
everyone at the
court
jail
case
is still
number
celebrating. You're
of
right,
Sarah
Rachel.
Boone, interview part 1 and 2. Abraham Moreno interview. Brandon Moats interview. Brian Boone interview. Juan Torres interview. And Melissa Sexton
She is just
interview,
like,
correct?
why are we
Yes.
doing this?
You reviewed the autopsy photos.
Yes.
It's gross.
You reviewed some of the digital forensic
Like,
exhibits.
I don't think at this
including
point
the
she has
Apple
any idea why the state is asking her.
I don't.
iPhone XS and a Samsung SMJ 327 T1 photographs from those 2 devices.
Yes.
You reviewed Bates stamped discovery pages 1 through 413.
God,
That's correct.
The crime scene
413?
photos. Are,
Thanks for that, by the way, bitch. Imagine being a lawyer and him like, oh, you got to read through this deposition. It's fucking as thick as a phone book.
photos of scene taken on June 19th of 2020. Aspire Health records.
Yes.
And who do those pertain to?
Aspire Health records are for Sarah Boone.
Florida Hospital Medical Group records.
Yes.
Totally.
And who do those records pertain to?
Sarah Boone.
That is also for Sarah Boone.
Who else are we talking about?
And Aspire, is that a mental health treatment facility?
It has an emergency department record, but that would be the place where she was detained under the Baker Act.
And it is routine and common in the practice of forensic psychology or psychiatry to rely on the records of
Isn't that wild? Thomas?
That's so wild.
So wild. What a coincidence.
other such
I guess we'll just
practitioners.
have to find her guilty.
As a source of information, sure.
You reviewed the deposition of Dr. Tanya Warner.
I did.
And Dr. Tanya
Reviewed
Hardin.
the trial testimony of Sarah Boone, Brian Boone, Dr. Michael Brannon, Dr. Tanya Werner, correct?
Yes.
The jury verdict form dated 10/25/24.
Yes.
Witness list notice of filing amended
Yes.
on this case. Records of
Oops, that was my
Jorge Torres or
medical
George Torres involving case numbers 2019 MM 5114, a 911 call and PDF, case 2019 MM 7193, case 2019
What a yawn fest.
MM 7193, Torres Public Records, case 2019 MM 7193, Torres Photos,
He's looking at
Central
Instagram.
Florida Primary
Looking through his feed, like, ooh, double tap that.
Care
one.
Records, Advent Health Orlando
Yeah, I don't know a judge who isn't at least a little susceptible to a thirst trap.
Medical Records, correct?
Yes.
And those latter records that I just mentioned, those for Mr. Torres and not Ms. Boone, correct?
That's right.
Sure.
Then you reviewed Sarah Boone written correspondence.
What are we
Sarah's
doing here,
listing
sir?
of domestic violence incidents, Sarah's writings regarding missing days of work and Baker Act, and a 74-page life story.
74-page life
And
story
then
of Sarah
case
Boone.
2018
A little memoir, she called it.
CF 10573, public records and photos.
Yes.
God, I hope somehow that 78-page memoir leaks.
Yes.
Holy shit.
And a telephone interview with Melissa Sexton, the property manager, which you
Super right
conducted
before
on
he finishes.
October 1st, 2024.
Yes.
And a telephonic interview with Philip Paulson, the defendant's
Oh, Rachel's been sending like
Well, there you go. That's why he's distracted.
brother
So far
on
now,
November
though.
26, 2024.
Yes.
Where has Ms. Boone
Mr. J
been
and Dr. Harper all those questions to underestimate her diagnosis with all the facts and evidence.
Are we talking about Joker and Harper Quinn? Just kidding.
housed and living since February of 2020?
At the Orange County Jail.
And does the Orange County Jail provide mental health services to inmates?
It does.
Totally.
And you already testified you would routinely, as a forensic psychologist, review records kept of a psychological or psychiatric treatment of a patient or a client, correct?
Yes.
In this particular case, have you reviewed any mental health records generated by the Orange County Jail for Ms. Boone?
No, I have not had the opportunity
So the
to do
last
that.
4 years that Sarah has been in jail, that where she could have potentially gotten mental health, anything, this bitch didn't even look into it. Didn't look at anything record-wise to see what the psychiatrist or psychologist at the jail said.
Because it probably doesn't fucking matter. And like that's like if you think this is going to be a rug pull moment, it doesn't feel like that. It just feels like another incompetent idiot who cashed a check and now like not doing your homework in high school, you can sometimes bullshit your way through. But like up on the stand, you got to realize you're going to be picked apart. Like I don't care which side is cross-examining you. They're going to look at you like a desiccated carcass, and they are a starving vulture. So, but that feels like it's a failing on the entire side of Sarah, because why wouldn't Mr. Owens be like, hey, look at that shit? Like, why doesn't anybody? Because it feels like nobody's doing their job.
Yep.
So for the last 58 months or so, if she was being seen by the mental health treatment staff at the jail, you have not reviewed those records.
That's correct.
And they are overseen at the jail, in the Orange County Jail, by a psychiatrist. Are you aware or not?
If the person's level of mental health intervention deems them eligible for psychiatry, then they will.
And any diagnosis or lack of diagnosis that
Oh
they've
yeah,
had.
because Sarah says this is actually an edited version.
Right. Well, but okay, so yeah, that'll come up too. So her statement is edited. So what I'm pretty sure what happened, and it's a theory that's been floated because it seems the most obvious, is like she had it written out and probably was making adjustments on the fly as she was seeing all of this play out.
Yeah, I probably may have misunderstood, but I thought she had sent what she was going to read to the judge I don't know if she had decided she was going to stand and do it.
Here's the thing: if you're going to speculate, and I would say this. I would say that edited meant that she added more here or there. Sarah doesn't seem like the type of editor to let anything that they touch hit the cutting room floor. So what it feels like is when they say, well, this is an edited version, it feels like because she wanted to, in her mind, dismantle certain points or whatever that she saw raised during all of this.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was something that was trimmed. I think she added fat onto that already rotten steak.
Course of the last 58 months you are unaware of because you did not review the records.
That's right.
I don't have any other questions.
Get this bitch out of here.
All right,
Here we
people,
go.
Fucking buckle up because yikes.
The tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg.
Just state your name again.
Sarah Boone.
Who?
Now, this is unlike a trial,
It's sort of.
so you're allowed to
Yes.
speak in a narrative
Thomas.
form, as well as I understand you have taken some notes or written a letter that
Thank
you
God.
want to read from, and then you want to speak.
Those facial
to the court
expressions. I just
after
want to
that.
smack her.
Just like the contempt. It's like a pint glass under a tap of contempt, and someone just hit that tap and took 15 to take a shit. So it's just boiling over, and that is Sarah.
Yes.
She starts talking about Pikachu.
The 25th Pokemon, guys. The peak.
This is actually an edited version of.
Hold on, let me mess with this microphone.
Professionally edited. And P.S. It has to point at your mouth, you fucking idiot.
Let me just really. There we go. Perfect.
Did you see that look of disdain on her
Yeah.
face? It was as if
She does it again.
She like the look on her face is so like she's been through it before, but she's like on a casting couch and some dude walks in from off screen with a hard joint in her face. She's just like, again, and he's like, blah. And just bonking her on the head a little bit.
I had a lot to say. I've had a lot of time to think about things,
Really?
and I didn't really know how to put it on paper, and I didn't know how much I could say or how.
I just thank God for those magnetic poetry collections. Like, with a refrigerator and a free afternoon, I was able to cobble together a little something that I think goes, that I think you'll like. It goes a little something like this. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, I'm awesome. And fuck you, Judge.
Little I should say. So what I have here is, like I said, an edited
Thought she was
version.
the queen.
But I would like to read the more important parts
Great.
that I feel that
17
everyone should
pages.
know that wasn't said in my actual trial.
Why not, right? Like, now's not
Yeah.
the time to
And on top of what I have on paper, I have,
paper.
this is just the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg.
Tip of the tip of the
So I
tip.
wanted to read this, and then if I may, I would like to address everyone in my apology on
Ha ha ha! Ha! Apology!
top of my statement.
You may proceed, ma'am.
Do it.
Little baby boop or Betty Boop eyes, like, Mr. Carter, can I read my statement?
Kintu sukuroi is a kind of Japanese ceramic style which means to repair with gold.
Almost, not almost, more insufferable than being like, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ once said in the good book, like,
Well, she brings that up too, eventually.
of course she does. But like the whole like fixing shit with gold, like, number one, where did you hear about that, Sarah? Like, I barely heard about that, and I'm an interesting, not straight A student with like a vested interest in being an interesting person. Who the fuck was like, Sarah, did you hear about this Japanese pottery repair
With
situation?
gold?
They use gold. That's like you, bitch.
This is forever.
Hey, man, thanks for the kidney. Did you hear about Seshi Sukiyaki? I forget what it was called. Sorry.
In this tradition, when a ceramic piece breaks, an
Forever?
artisan will fuse the pieces back together again using liquid gold or gold dust lacquer. So rather than being covered up, the breaks become more
This is the
obvious and
edited
a
version.
brilliant new piece of art emerges
Liquid gold.
Pikachu.
from the brokenness. It embraces flaws, weakness, and imperfection,
K-Swan
and
thinks-
also
she thinks
teaches
he's a
the
martyr
essence
now.
of resilience.
God, like if the metaphor were true, Sarah would be worth millions.
Every crack in a ceramic piece is a part of its history, and each piece becomes more beautiful because it has been broken. This is the wisdom of Kintu Sukuroi. In my wisdom and with all of my repairs, then, now, and ongoing, God is
all of my wisdom and all of my repairs. I'm a perfect vessel that God has deemed fit to pour tea into. George Torres, Mom, you're a stupid bitch. Like,
and will always be my artisan. All of my gold is forgiveness. This has held me together, made me shine brighter, and overcome the damage caused by George Torres.
and then like the lights just go out and like a disco ball starts swirling, and her lawyer hits a button on a jukebox, and Rihanna's Diamond starts playing. And she starts shuffling
Shine
around the
bright like a
courtroom in her
diamond.
shackles and shit. Fuck yeah.
Torres family, the justice system, Orange County Corrections Department,
I see your
social
cracks from
media,
here.
scoundrel detectives, infamy, defamation, ongoing constitutional rights violations, second-degree murder, forced into being
Second-degree
pro se.
burns?
Forced into being pro se. Not that you fucking fired 9 lawyers.
Just as gold is very precious,
So am
forgiveness
I.
is invaluable.
Oh, sorry.
Forgiveness is not an
Oh,
attempt
yeah.
to change or
She
forget
skins
who,
her knee in
what, or
prison and
how
asks for
you
liquid gold.
have lived through to be so gold, but an act of grace, humility, and considerable self-compassion to be set free from sorrow.
Oh my God! If Daryl Brooks and Sarah Boone like united, but they wouldn't, right? He's in Waukesha and she's in Orange County.
Look at you,
Withholding
pen
forgiveness
pals.
denies your brilliance and adds even greater grief and deeper heartache. Irreparable cracks on top of the already.
Yeah, we're at, if you have a Twitter, YouTube, or Facebook account, you're guilty too.
Yep, we're all
Go to
guilty.
jail.
That no one deserves, no matter the pain or disappointment, untruths or injustice. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
she went out of her way
As
to
the
make
more
sure her
broken
hair
you
is
are,
fabulous.
even though now different than before, you've become more outstanding and more extraordinary. Above all, when
I'm gonna say you, but you guys know I'm talking about me, right? Like I'm Farrakhan Sarah Boone, straight A murderer.
you let go
Is
of
it just
blame,
me, or does like the V on
misunderstandings,
her like scrub jailhouse wear look really low?
Typically they are cut
That's like a
pretty
deep
low.
V.
Yeah, scrubs have a deep V. I mean, it's because nurses are typically so sexy with their turkey necks, like Sarah's got there.
is give up your anger and cease from resentment. This is forgiven. And when you forgive, you have.
She's a slut.
And when you
Just
forgive,
scissoring all up and
you
down
heal.
her jail.
She's like, hey, she's like, you think she went to Owens and be like, hey, give me that prison smock with the deep V.
I need the plunging
I think
neckline.
I'll be able to pull Kralix eyes from his thirst trap Instagram feed.
And when you heal,
From
you
Rachel's
move forward.
nudes.
My goal begins with George Torres, and every time he
She's getting mad at the guy who sneezed. George Torres, and every time. Oh! Sarah. Oh!
I'm your biggest fan.
me kicked, punched, spit on, raped, stabbed, choked, laughed at, pushed, pulled, dragged, whipped, tripped, stole from, lied,
Whipped.
How did
tripped,
you get
slipped,
whipped?
Fell.
terrorized, threatened, humiliated,
This is another lolcow shit. Like Cyrax runs through. Everybody who has trolls runs through like all of the injustices they've suffered.
forced, degraded, made me cry.
Yes, an apology
Every
should
time
not
he
have
tried to
sodomy
end
in it.
me,
You're right.
Maybe just a little.
Defeat or destroy. I forgive George for beating me senseless, for trying to sleep
My
because I
chicken
had to
legs.
go to work or my son's field trip the next day.
Work.
Where? Number one. Where did you work? Where was your son going? And no, Brian took him.
For ruining my deceased family's heirlooms, traditions, and keepsakes.
How? Okay, here's the thing. I've heard this part in clips before when she goes, heirlooms, traditions, and keepsakes, right? Like, I can see George wrecking their Christmas tree. I can see George tossing their baby blanket from Sarah in the 1930s in the garbage. But like, how could he do the traditions?
Yeah.
It's like when someone makes a bad movie that retroactively ruins your childhood. Like if your tradition every year at Christmas is to put up a tree and smoke some chestnuts and do all that shit, like do you think how
Yeah.
What's happening, guys?
Furniture, destroying the television we watched together. For wrecking our
It's the heat miser.
our townhome by breaking windows, punching
gonna
holes
get
in the
thumped
walls
in
and
prison.
doors.
Oh God, I hope. No, she's gonna be like the loving den mother that
She's the scissor sister.
yeah, she's the scissor initiator.
Ramming his entire body into glass doors, kicking in my front and
His
back door
entire
over
body.
and over and over.
And
For
over.
breaking or removing the locks from all of the doors and sometimes the knobs altogether.
Oh my
so I had
God.
nowhere to feel safe, including the
she's so
safe
Except
sincere.
in the house I owned that I kept calling the police to have him carted away from.
Yep.
space of my son's room where he beat me bloody
The
on his
unwanted
bed.
scissor.
For terrorizing and threatening my blind and deaf dogs by leaving the gate open I built to keep them safe, telling me he hoped I'd find their bloated dead body in the pond or scrape their remains off of the pavement, for kicking them off of the bed and throwing across the room because they were trying to protect me.
That's the most confusing sentence of this whole thing. Like, he threw the...
Threatening to make me unrecognizable to my
Rachel,
son by breaking
do
all
you
of
think she stabbed herself in the leg? Type a 1 in the chat if you think she stabbed herself in the leg.
I don't know, man. I feel like that he probably did stab her because, like, they were drunk all the time. And it doesn't, at least from the impression I get from related to this stab wound in her leg, like, it feels like just a drunken night of revelry. Because, like, everybody, like, maybe not everybody, but, like, when I was younger, let's just say that, I had friends, maybe they still do this, I don't know. I never partook because it felt stupid, but they would get drunk, and once everybody was drunk, they would typically decide to, like, slap each other, like, as hard, like, before slap fights were televised in like a
whole
sports center thing, like I had friends who would all just get drunk and take out their aggression on each other indirectly for other people by slapping your friend. But they would never do that while sober.
Right.
So I feel like this is one of those things where, like, they get drunk. George is probably rolling around on the floor, like, you know, when I first had my first 6-pack of Smirnoff Ices, crawling around, not sure what's going on, seeing shapes and colors and stabbing at them.
wounds in my face, like his brother Moses did to him after he kept seeing all of the bruises from George beating me, like all of the times their father beat their mother. For all of the drunken rages and fist
Calling
fights
you
with so
out,
many
your whole
neighbors
family
when
out.
wandering into their apartments during hunting expeditions after I had escaped. For drowning me in liquor and wine because I
He drowning me in liquor and wine, right? Sending his ass to go get the Magnum bottle so you can fill up your bathtub, you lush.
to drink, causing me to urinate on myself, then butting the end of the bottle in my face, giving me 2 black eyes and a bloody nose.
What a scissoring psycho suitcase slaughter. Now that should be a movie. Too bad it's not the 80s anymore. Oh my God. Could you imagine that, like, showing up on Red Letter Media? The scissoring psycho suitcase slaughter?
For making me
Oh man,
experience
sorry.
what it is to
My whole chat stopped loading, and so I didn't see any of these until I had to
be
restart my
sodomized.
thing.
Threatening to kill my friends and the neighbors when they checked on me
Sarah pees on herself. Yes, she
The bitch be pissing.
to make sure I was alive and in one piece.
Bitch be
For
pissing.
threatening to burn down our townhome and set my car on fire because I got a job. For holding me hostage on weekends my son was supposed to come over by keeping my keys around his neck, my phone in his crotch, and a butcher knife stuck in the middle of the table.
Stuck in the middle of the table. Like,
Bam.
it's a fucking crime
Centerpiece.
drama. Or like, you know, like, it's like Face Off. Like when Nicolas Cage is in, like, the drug den, like all those drugs, and there's just like a butcher knife in the center, hypothetically.
Warning not to ask anything or try to leave.
It's alpha male
For stabbing
shit.
me in the leg and not letting me call 911 for an ambulance or seek help, where I nearly bled to death until I concocted a lie to save him from being arrested.
Yeah, because usually I would just straight up call the cops. But this time I had to concoct a lie.
For destroying
You lie, Sarah?
my phone with a hammer because my son called. For me experiencing ever being arrested, and after today, prison.
After today. Thanks for dying, you stupid bitch. Now I gotta go to prison because you're in a pine box. Cool closing statement, Sarah. Hey, if you hadn't have died, I'd be free, you motherfucker. Like, this is... Maybe you know this meme, maybe not. But, like, you remember the iRobot meme back in the day where it was, like, Will Smith's back to camera, like, in an arc of piss, like, flying through the air and landing on Isaac Asimov's grave as he holds, like, a Dos Equis and wears Converse? Like, this is that meme. It's like Sarah Boone is squatting above George's grave with, like, a Magnum bottle of Boone's Farm and, like... probably holding the bird flag or the pineapple in their hand, just unleashing her bladder upon his, like, memory.
Beating me almost blind.
Case
crushing
one,
my...
she mentions the stab wound like
so often. Oh
so
my
often,
God.
up until the end of her
For having
speech.
me experience what it means to see
I should have made
stars
a
like in the
count for that.
cartoons.
Stars like in the cartoons. He'd hit me with a frying pan or a giant mallet, Your Honor, and I would see Tweety birds and stars. Where do you live, Sarah? Toontown?
Where a character has a tall lump on their head. I had that too, and many times.
Yeah, so it's, yeah, Sarah is a Who Framed Roger Rabbit character escaped into real life.
For dragging me downstairs by my hair in the middle of the...
I know, right? But here's the thing. So, like, if you look at Sarah in, like, if you watch our body cam compilation or whatever, 4, 5, 10 years ago, in those pink shorts with a better haircut and, like, something, like, I can see a normal person getting with Sarah by mistake, but...
drunk.
Right, and but that's the thing, George, you know, they're both constantly wearing beard goggles, so it definitely feels like, yeah, most normal people wouldn't roll with that shit.
Night just to sit next to him. For taking my car driving drunk with my debit card to buy more alcohol while I slept.
Yeah, George painted a door on the wall. Yeah, classic Roadrunner Coyote bullshit constantly going on at the Boone residence.
Even after I kindly explained the importance of my car to take my son to school foremost, me to work.
Yeah, her put George in jail shorts. Every time she'd call the police, the first thing she'd do, before she even picked up the phone, she goes, "Where are my juicy pink shorts?" She goes, "Okay, there they are, 911. Help!"
And he to his batterers intervention classes and probation officer meetings.
I got my pink shorts
where I would
on.
be forced to sit for hours in the parking lot waiting for him.
What?
For causing me so much trauma and pain, mentally, physically, emotionally, I had to be hospitalized more than once. For destroying my reputation and integrity. For my M for murderer scarlet letter.
A for asswipe, too.
Not letting me feel safe to live, talk to other people, spend time with my son, have a job.
Eli and Kim. I never felt safe around Eli and Kim. And it was all because of George. I couldn't take a shit because of George making fear.
Friendships. Simply go to the bathroom with the door closed, or go to sleep soundly or comfortably. I forgive George for lying, for him trying in so many ways, so many times, to end me with his terrifying love. I also forgive the Torres family, his mother and father foremost, also his 2 ex-wives and daughters, all for knowing who George was, capable of, and has done in the past.
Not for nothing. Like, fucking stupid. Like, again, it's not anybody else's responsibility to try and change who you are. That's down to you. But, like, the absurdity to throw in the kids, to be like, the kids knew, his daughters from 2 separate wives knew he was abusing me, and none of them stepped up to the plate. On what planet? Like, imagine, like, if you have a kid, imagine them coming up and be like, "Hey, Dad, Mom, let's have a talk. I think you're being a little bit abusive."
His history of violence and where he learned it, then to keep turning a blind eye when I would ask for help. All of his siblings,
Yeah, she got this stuff
including
out of
Farrell
books and
Torres,
probably
was
with the help of her kidney friend.
Oh, yeah, totally. That was her research department.
now on his way to prison for stabbing the mother of their baby in the side of their head, her head. For everyone who knew what George was doing to me, sometimes how and when, but allowed and enabled. I forgive them for caring too late. I hope they all ask themselves while quiet and comfortable in bed at night the uneasy question, what could I have done to stop this from happening to both of them? And after all the time Sarah tried to, by asking for help.
Right, but I don't think in the history of murder victims, anyone in their family lays awake at night being like, how could I have
Help.
Like, how could I have made the person who was killed not get killed?
Right.
No one does that. They like go, maybe they go, how would I intervene to like stop Sarah? But no one at the end of the day, when like, you know, the dust settles, no matter how delusional you are, no one is laying there going, why couldn't I have helped George be a better person so he didn't end up a murder victim? Like, there are, I can't think of a spot higher on the knob of victim blaming than this. Like, it's fucking up to 11.
From all of us, and so many times.
Yeah, the detectives are expediting
Another
Eli's
great
green
contributor
card.
of my gold is social media, with its greed, insensitivity.
Yeah, just like INS shows up at the dude's house. He's like, are you Eli? And he's like, oh, what? And like, here's your green cards. Thank you for dealing with Sarah Boone. You did your patriotic duty.
Deception, obvious exploitation, and advantageous gain from my criminal case as a whole.
My kennel.
And for
case.
sentencing me by anticipation as a result of ignorance and hate, conjured and fabricated by the organized crime that is social media, which condemned me in the court of global public opinion since the beginning.
Yeah, I'm Polly the poster. I'm a big wig in the fucking true crime organized social media gang.
My family law case is the new prey to picked apart.
Hey, I'm Donnie Double Post. I'm Donnie Double Post.
And pillaged from me being made infamous by social media in my criminal case.
My life was a Saxon village that was pillaged by Vikings, Your Honor. And what?
It simply seems I cannot forgive and be forgiven and move forward. Social media has made me a pariah. It has caused great oppression and undeniable disadvantages, especially by broadcasting and manipulating my cases online.
Yeah, let's call for the abolition of the, what was the word she used? Oppression of, like, single white bitches. Yeah, let's stop prosecuting Karens for their toxic behavior. Like, yeah, guys, you made her the pariah, right? She killed George, but you guys are the real crime. Minnels. Me too.
In my criminal case, as a result, my opportunities to be given a fair...
She's on like page 10. Are you kidding me? We've seen that thing flip.
This is her 74-page autobiography.
Every time she turns the page, I want to hear that old-timey like books on cassette chime where it's like, bring.
Proper and uninfluenced successful conclusion was heavily depleted and poisoned. I forgive them. Also, all of the media tycoons for not having a life of their own, trying so desperately to make themselves seem...
The media tycoon. So this is beyond social media. She's like, hey, the people who dedicated their lives to reporting the news, fuck you for reporting this.
Like, this is just the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg, people.
Yeah, hey. And also, you meteorologists, fuck your reign.
Right, by making me appear so wrong. Forgiveness for prejudgment, ridiculous theatrics, lies, making and
ridiculous theatrics, like firing 8 lawyers.
Yeah.
Writing a big poster board bullshit open letter to the public. You know, the type of shit that's beneath me, a straight A student.
Blood money from my and others' misfortunes, accidents, and catastrophes. It's all over their hands and their keyboards. And even
my bloody keyboard! Like, in Sarah's mind, like, everybody who's ever watched or produced a video like this one, like, it's like the Telltale Heart, where they just like hear clicking in the middle of the night, and like me, I'll get up out of my bed and like throw on a robe, and my keyboard will be typing itself, and there'll be blood, and I go, it's the clicking of the hideous board!
Yes.
Get over yourself.
Yeah, her speech pattern and pronunciation gets real weird. Yeah.
Well, because...
She's just talking.
She's not a good narrator, and the thing is, if you don't practice narration, the further you get into a spoken word piece, the more and more you sort of drift away from human cadence.
Right. Guys, listen, please. I don't think you appreciate this is the edited version.
What I'm saying is she edited more shit into it.
all that's been said and
Carolina
done,
says, did she just say, how could I have helped
hypothesized,
Sarah while they're all laying in their comfortable beds? Yep, that proves it. She's really angry with everyone.
Yeah, every one of George's blood relatives should be laying awake at night, wondering how they could have saved Sarah from such a fate.
and blasphemed. In my case, still no one knows me.
Blaspheme. They were taking our Lord and Savior Boone in vain. Flip.
In the end, I forgive myself
Thank
for not
God.
choosing my life sooner, for not being more brave, vigilant, bolder, and outspoken, stronger, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
Like Beyonce told us, I'm a survivor.
For being hopeless, desperate.
I should have made him put his shit on the something to the left, right, guys? That's another song.
Simple-minded,
All the
weak,
single
and
ladies.
inexperienced. I forgive myself for not realizing I was enduring a life of domestic violence and that the vicious cycle of never ends.
Domestic violence and the vicious cycle of never ends.
Oh yeah, when she
I
talks
had
about
nothing
this
to
is
compare
forever.
to. I've never
This
been
is
hit by a man
forever.
ever before in my life. I was raised hitting a woman was wrong and should never happen. No excuse. I forgive myself for not.
I don't fucking okay. Yeah, obviously, like that is the most obvious thing anyone can ever say. But everyone says that shit as if it's profound. Like, I was raised that you should never hit a woman. Don't hit anybody, motherfuckers. I don't care who the fuck you are. If you're like, I would, because that's, at least in my experience, 9.5 times out of 10, I would hear, you don't hit a woman. Like, nobody does that. But then that same person will be totally on board with, like, abusing a man.
Right.
Like, I don't like when other women, like, call other women females and be like, oh, you shouldn't hit a woman. Like, it's not a matter of gender, right? If we're all working for equality, you'd be like, hey, you don't hit a woman, but you can knock a dude's dick in the dirt. Like, no. Don't be like, I was raised. We're all raised that way. No one was like, hey, man, you never raised your hand to a female, but you can smack a bitch dude up. No.
Permanently for not fighting back sooner to save myself, my son, my dogs, home and car.
Home and car.
Home and car.
I could have saved my son dog's home and car.
Having
My bird flag, the pineapple.
2020 hindsight thinking of everything I could have done differently
Right, unless you're a pugilist, fucking stop that shit.
or better to avoid the outcome. I think about this every day since. Also, of all the good days we had together, for him at least, while I was constantly in hyperdrive, high alert, and paranoid, making sure I did everything right all the time. If not,
Like, get straight A's.
Even when
the
he
great
wasn't
possibility
there.
I would be in
I always knew what to do and how to do it. My report cards were lining the walls. George was there, being mean.
that as George threatened me with so many times before. I forgive
Didn't she say the end at the beginning of that page?
myself for falling in love
She
with a
has a whole
monster, and
extra
no matter
thing
how
after this.
grotesque he may become, I still loved him, hoped, and forgave. I tried breaking the spell so he wouldn't be a monster anymore. I saw who he was inside. George made me then, now, and always love him for all of his cracks also. We made each other our own
The
brilliant
gold
pieces
from
of
the
art from
beginning.
the cracks and repairs.
We did puzzles, we did painting, hide and seek.
You had a good day.
You know, the weekends when you can get drunk because you don't have to wake up in the morning. You can have a good time. You can
You
relax.
can sleep for 11 hours.
Unfortunately, not all cracks can be. In all of my forgiveness, George is my greatest lesson and will forever be a part of me.
No.
I think of him every day and still speak to him when alone on the rec yard. I ask his forgiveness and that he looks for me at the gates of heaven so I can tell him how sorry I am.
Yeah, as I'm taking a huge dump on his memory, I'm like, George, please forgive me because I know not what I do. And then she wipes her fucking ass with one of his funeral flowers.
Endlessly, and that I never stopped loving
The
him.
end of the end of the
In
end.
all of it and still. When I first came to jail, I put my mat under my bed and cried all day and all night for months, only falling asleep from being so exhausted with grief.
You fit under your bed.
And taking copious breaks to like yell at lawyers and fire them.
All right.
I wrote him letters. I wrote his family and his daughters, apologizing for asking
How much
and
of the
asking
jury
for their
came to
forgiveness.
sentencing? Came to the sentencing? Wow.
Oh, I was. Like, that's the thing, man. Like, if they'd let me, and like, if they'd let me on the jury, I'd stay for the whole thing. Like, I would be there with a fucking big bucket of popcorn.
But due to fear that my life or sons would be jeopardized, I did not send. I am sorry. I cannot begin to fathom any of their grief and sadness. Please forgive me.
Please forgive me.
After all that.
Almost everything reminds me of him. Seeing my stab wound, especially
my
Especially.
stab wound, especially because he stabbed me especially hard in the leg. He stabbed me. It's a wound.
I got an
every day,
owie.
especially. It truly reminds me that all I really did live through. George haunts me. He is every.
Ooh, like, yeah, he stabbed me. He's dead.
Isn't it interesting that one of the dogs had to be moved away from George and the suitcase? George didn't abuse the dogs. They didn't guard Sarah that day.
Right. The dogs were like, oh my God, the one person who's actually like semi-palatable.
Yeah.
I believe
She
because
loves
I
that
do
scar.
still love
Yeah,
him,
that stab
think of
wound,
him,
man.
and
Yeah, she rubs it every night before she goes to sleep.
miss his laugh the most. In my heart, I know he is with me and understands that this tragedy was not intentional.
Not intentional.
I hope everyone can.
No
His
malicious
family
content.
Know that. Know that. I don't. Know that. I don't.
foremost.
Know it.
I didn't mean for this to happen.
Unintentional.
Please wholeheartedly know that, and always, I would never.
She's on a
Yeah,
sliding
she only
scale.
had one or
Sometimes
two
she has
drinks.
one, sometimes she has two, never more.
Nope.
It's like when the cops pull the dude over on cops and you go, how many beers? How many drinks have you had tonight? 2 beers. Plus 40.
Debatable.
Forgive me, George. Forgive me, Torres family.
Forgive me.
Where am I?
Forgive me, Judge Cranick. To the entire planet, please forgive me.
The entire
whole
planet.
everybody.
God damn. Like the. To uncontacted tribes in the Amazonian jungle, please forgive me. To the indigenous people of the Senegal Islands who maybe ate one of the Rockefellers, forgive me. To the cast of Cannibal Holocaust, please forgive me.
I graciously and humbly ask for consideration,
Humbly.
for forgiveness to be extended instead of judgment.
If you look at me today, I want you to walk away with 2 impressions. I was gracious and I was humble. And if you don't believe that, fuck you. I forgive you.
For reconciliation and restoration.
The high
for all
Karen
of us to move
priestess.
forward.
She's
She
the
should have a
scissor
big-
matron.
She should have a big old Pope hat that has like a wine jug on it.
My apology is profuse and ceaseless. Allow me, please, to brush off the muck, wipe the blood off
Wipe the muck off my keyboard and get back to posting.
of my face and fix the cuts in my skin. I ask for understanding
Can't
in
fix
what
that
really
stab
I
wound
thought
though.
you got the gold treatment already, bitch. Like,
happened and for how long.
ceaselessly apologizing.
For second chances,
Magnum
repentance,
hat.
and redemption, to advocate for all domestic violence survivors, to help them overcome, heal, and still hope, always, to make their voices heard, to confidently walk with all of their scars on the outside and the inside, to help them not ever become a casualty of domestic violence as so many.
As George did.
Yeah.
I hope that if I'm allowed to walk free to help other people not get murdered like I murdered George.
Yeah.
This isn't like a domestic violence case or whatever, like where they're trying to put a dude away because he's still alive and is still a danger. She's like, I hope to help others essentially manipulate those lower than them any way possible that you can exert power over. And if you do end up killing them, I hope you get off scot-free. Sarah Boone.
To stop the abuse
Her whole
and
speech is
maltreatment
basically
before
lock
it's
me
too
up.
late.
I don't care. Y'all gay
There is
anyway.
always hope,
Yeah, seriously. Y'all gay anyway.
and you can survive. In my soft-spoken conclusion, I ask this.
My soft-spoken conclusion. P.S. Wouldn't that be funny? Instead of saying y'all gay, she's like, P.S. I'm gay now. And she just drops the little stick mic.
Would I be the darling mother
Starseed says Sarah is
celebrating
now spokesgoon for bad women.
She shouldn't be like a battered spouse advocate. She should be a battering spouse advocate.
Right.
Woman of the Year if it were I who died?
Oh, God. I love this part.
How many daughters, mothers, sisters, aunts, grandmothers, nieces, and friends have been because they did?
Like, if this were reversed, right, and it was Sarah in the suitcase and George is on the outside, we would have gotten, like, no blip on our radars,
No.
right? The dudes would come over to the Torres/Boone house. They go, oh, my God, Sarah's in the suitcase. And they go, what happened, George? And he'd do the same thing he always does. He's like, I don't know, like, this is blah, 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 and say exactly nothing. Probably get thrown in for manslaughter, get less than Sarah was offered as a plea.
Right.
Like, Sarah would have got thrown in. They'd go like, hey, Jorge, you're going to do 5 years for manslaughter. If Sarah Boone died, nobody would be like waving flags of sadness, or like the bears in Korea wouldn't cry when Kim Jong-un the first died or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, this is bullshit.
I am a survivor.
Oh, simply because I killed the other person.
Right. Big Bertha's waiting
Like,
for her.
it's not like they both got off the Titanic, right? It's like she stuffed him in a trunk and then got to the lifeboats.
Yeah.
Learn to do good, seek justice, rebuke oppressors.
Take your vitamins, say your prayers, truth, justice, and the American way. Aye, aye, sir. Good night, Judge Kralik.
Defend the fatherless. Plead for the widow. Isaiah 117.
Gah!
All-encompassing. Protect the abused.
Well, that seems to be antithetical, because if God helps those who are abused, he let George get snuffed out. Like, it's what a ballsy move to sit here on this side of history now that George is dead and go like, God will protect those who are abused. It's like when two sports teams, like it's like the Lions and the Raiders, like they both go, hey, Jesus, it's me, the Raiders. Hey, Jesus, God, it's me, the Lions. We're the Lions. We love you, Jesus. We want to win. The Raiders say, Jesus, we love you. We want to win. If you both appeal to the same team of a higher power in this case, do you think Jesus just flips a coin? You think God on his like cloud recliner was just like, okay, we got, who's up next? Who's up next? We got Torres and we got Boone. He goes, ping, and flicks a coin, and it comes up Boone, and he goes, well, that's the way the shit shakes out. Sorry, George. Unfucking believable.
Ms. Boone, is that the end of your written statement?
Yes.
Thank God.
Now, gathering your thoughts, did you want to make an oral statement?
I do.
I would like to make a rectal statement, or rather continue making my rectal statement.
All right, would you do that now?
No.
Yes, please.
Yes, please. Would you do that now?
Yes, please.
My statement, my verbal statement, is primarily to the Torres family, to the judge.
Starsheet says Isaiah 1:15-17. It says, in the Bible is a passage that criticizes religious hypocrisy and calls for people to do good and seek justice.
Right, isn't that weird, right? Because, like, it's like she's stupid or something. I don't get it.
Huh.
I guess who prays harder?
Who prays harder?
To his daughters.
Whoever offers more, you know, wheat and oxen and calf's tongue at the altar, I guess, gets to take home the trophy.
I know you all know who I really am, and that I
Which is the problem.
did care for George, and that I do still love George.
But I knew you were always going to kill me, because that's the literal last thing I said on every body cam footage is they all hate me.
Kill me.
They call me a blue-eyed white devil. And these, like, she essentially called, you know, they were the organized crime before social media got to her. Like, they were the C&J or CJ and G of like her personal life.
Yeah.
Like, she couldn't cross Jorge, or else she'd like show up in a burning 55-gallon oil drum in the desert. You fucking kidding me? I forgive you.
Oh, you know that we had very many good days.
Thomas says, Owens, hey, Sarah, there's no deputy in the hallway who you didn't talk shit about. You want me to call him in so you can cover everything?
Yeah, like the janitor walking by outside is the only one who came out unscathed. Like, holy shit.
And I take offense to the statement of being said that this is just for a moment. Right now with me here in the courtroom in front of you all, this is just for a moment. But the moments before that, in order for me to be here, is endless. It's everlasting.
Hit it, Owens, and the boombox comes back out. The lights go down again. It was Hanging by a Moment, I think by Lifehouse.
Yes.
Hanging by a Moment. She gets up there playing a little like a fucking Dean flying V guitar, still with her handcuffs on, so all she can do is play the ultra high notes, and she's like really ripping a solo apart.
The scars that I have on the inside, my outside scars have healed, except for my stab wound.
The stab wound, guys. seriously stabbed in the leg. There's a wound there.
But this has changed me as a person to see things differently and to understand things differently and to not be weak. And
I think if I got out, I could kill another man without a suitcase. I'm strong enough. I'm smart enough. God damn it, people like me.
just try to protect yourself and
the emo lyrics.
Forever, regardless of the time that I may receive.
Yeah, I think Sarah's a big like The Used fan.
From today, I forever will have this experience. I forever will have George Torres with me in my heart, in my mind, my body, and my soul. As he and I used to say that we were one soul split into two bodies. This is not just for a moment.
I wanted my half back, so I murdered him.
It may be for everyone.
Do you think in like a la The Simpsons again, like when Sarah in that rowboat going across the river Styx instead of Karen there, it's like her soul and like George's soul, and regular old George is broke dick like Bart with one oar just going in a circle around the
This courtroom, but when I leave, this is forever. When you all leave, that this is forever. This is forever.
This is forever.
Forever.
Forevermore. It will be ever
for everyone here and those who it matters to most. I am one of those who will experience this forever.
Forever.
I'm sorry. Words do
forever. Forever.
not define my
Drinking habit.
shame.
Oh.
And
Who's doing that?
I don't know what else it is that I can say and
But that's not going to stop me from talking.
convey to the Torres family how this happened.
She is a little Ed Kemper.
Oh, Ed Kemper.
But like way stupider.
The ifs and whys and how really don't matter. It happened, and I'm sorry.
No, the ifs and whys matter extremely because here's the thing. You say, well, the ifs and whys don't matter, except when it's me. Like, except when you're the accused. The ifs and whys don't matter to George because they were all moot because you killed him.
Uh-huh.
The ifs and whys only matter if you're the one who survives being a battering spouse.
Yeah.
It's like if the guy who made the killdozer like runs over like a Honda Civic with a family in it and he goes, well, like, who's the real victim here? They wouldn't yield to the stop sign. And they're like just jam in a fucking smashed tin.
Words cannot describe.
More like
And I hope that everyone can forgive me, the Torres family most of all, and his daughters, because I know what he meant to them. And I don't think that anybody ever understood what he meant to me and I to him.
But I still
And
murdered
I
him.
ask for forgiveness.
Humbly, purposefully,
Sincerely.
eternally, relentlessly, juicily.
She's about to rickroll us.
Oh, for the third time, he pulls out the boombox. It's been a rickroll.
Ms. Boone, I have just one or two questions, if you don't mind.
Oh, God, please.
And you can speak on it if you want, or not.
Or you could say,
You better
fuck
believe I want to speak on that shit. This is the last time I'm going to be in front of this corrupt, scoundrel, liberal, Jew-run social media.
Damn.
This is a unique case, and one of the reasons it's so unique is that you were in jail for 4.5 years prior to your trial.
And seeing as COVID was a thing, I don't think it's probably as unique as that.
I understand that
She's
when you
gonna
were
have
brought
a
up
cult
as a
of
child,
psychos in
that
jail.
you did
Yeah.
have
The real Scissor Sisters.
some spirituality in your family, some church, some religion.
Always.
But I understand that you got away from that. Did you have a chance?
So not always. You let me finish there, because if you say always, and then I have to keep asking the question I'm asking, or say, but then you didn't. Always. Fuck!
During the 4.5 years to look back at?
Sarah can only manage a cult of one. That's the thing. That's the only thing that like separates Sarah from like the charismatic Charlie Mansons of the world. Like Sarah has enough personal, mental, brain processing capacity to find someone lower on the totem pole than her and get them to bend to her will.
Yeah.
If she had to find more than a single person, not going to work.
Spirituality.
Well, yeah, because if you
Absolutely.
like the two people, the two jail Scissor Sisters that were talking about her, one of them, the one that was with her for 4 years, got out in April. The other lady that was for 3 months got in April.
Right.
And
So
left
she can
in
only
June.
have, like, this isn't a cult of personality. It's like Sarah is, she's not even like a leech, because like a leech is a parasite that only takes from its host. Sarah feeds out things. It's like if a leech, while it was sucking your blood, was also like imparting a little weed or acid or some sort of drug that alters your thinking.
Yeah.
So you think that you're gaining. It's like if the symbiote in Spider-Man, right? Instead of Venom turning Eddie Brock into like a big buff dude, he just turns him into like a bubbling ball of cancerous cells.
Yeah.
And you go like, oh, we are Venom. That's Sarah.
The two leech theory is back, says Thomas.
You know,
right, remember the leech on leech?
everyone supposes that this is one of the worst experiences of my life, and it's actually been one of my greatest.
I thank George for putting me in jail because
If
I
I
killed
were
him.
not beaten to death, I was going to work myself to death on the outside. And
That's why I had the suitcase George. I was going to work myself to death by getting up at noon 30 every day to cash those checks that Brian had to send every month.
And I never had time to get back into my Bible and to pray and to be with the Lord. And I, being here...
It's amazing. She couldn't find a Lord in any one of those Magnum bottles of wine.
Nope.
Why? If Jesus and God's everywhere, why isn't he in any of those Magnum
aren't
bottles
they the
you
blood
got
of
from
Christ?
Publix?
Incarcerated have had time, of course, to get closer to God, to reacquaint myself to Him.
I love the word feckless, Darcy. I love that shit.
And realize what it's all about. This is all temporary. And when I say temporary, I don't mean by being set free in
Or
jail.
murdered.
Good news, guys. We are witnessing Sarah Boone's spiritual awakening. She is seen through the veil of reality into the greater cosmic reality of a never-ending cycle. So, good news. You don't have to go to jail, Sarah, because you read a sentence on the internet.
Or from prison or wherever else. It means
You want to know how I got these
being
jowls?
set free and temporary.
Honey buns and commissary money. Who's put money into? Oh, I bet the kidney lady was probably dropping $5 or so.
I'm sure.
Meaning that you work for something
She's a pay pig. She's a fucking pay pig.
higher. You work for God. That you strive for your crown to be placed upon your head by Jesus Christ by being said,
You might be a little off. Thomas!
"You have done well, my good and faithful servant." I've always tried to be a good and faithful servant. I was
Oh my
just
God,
a
the little paper
servant
clips.
as opposed to doing all that I can when my family were alive and I was going through everything up to this point.
But then George came along and destroyed all my traditions. And I was like, how did he do that?
I've become so much more closer to the Lord, and it's made me such a better person, and I hope that I am an example going forward of the Lord's light and can draw many people to me because of it.
I think
I
one of
want all
most
the people.
annoying types of spiritual person is the Christian mystic. Like, I don't mind Christians or Hindus or Buddhists or whatever, but like when they start mixing in the spiritual of like what Sarah was talking about, like she's describing like a legitimate awakening where like, yeah, she sees through the dance, you know what I mean, of life, but I don't know, man. Like, most people in Sarah's situation, like Daryl Brooks, when he found God, or when they all find God, they don't take this mystical, spiritual aspect of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes me more irritated or not, because it's like when a D student tries, they study the wrong thing and their book report's fucked. So do you go, well, an A for effort because you tried, but also an F for effort because if you had internalized any of that, you wouldn't have turned in this horse shit.
Right. Thomas says, I'd be so annoyed if I was Christian and this murderer shows up saying all's well or crazy bag of
I feel
criminal behaviors.
so sorry for Christians because you're only ever hearing about Christian related topics like in pop culture when like murderers are telling you they found Jesus or they're looking to pull down or put up a monument.
Right.
Like, I'm so sorry for you people, but Jesus Christ, like you guys don't get to pick who's on your team.
Your Honor, I'm going to start my argument by what I
Mr. Cacciatore.
Mr. Owens will bring up in his presentation regarding
His PowerPoint slideshow.
the plea offer in this case. That she was offered the resolution in this case of 15 years.
Please remember that, Judge. Please. I mean, you were there for it. We were all there for it. But, like, remember the 15 years that we offered her so we wouldn't have to go through this fucking dog and pony show?
But here we are.
In the Department of Corrections. to begin with.
Oh, Jezebel. God, you're dropping a Starseed. I fucking love your vernacular.
I think it's important, though, that the entire circumstance of that plea offer is put forward.
Right.
And there's something very
Ooh, a strumpet. The good one, Rachel.
critical to that.
She's a harlot.
It's not just 15 years in the Department of Corrections. It's 15 years in the Department of Corrections.
Much like Delilah to Samson. You know, in that case, Delilah cut his locks and blinded him. You know, it turns out George's weakness was the suitcase. She didn't have to, like, put his, you know, tie his arms with olive vines or, like, weave his hair into a loom. It was just like, yep, right into the suitcase.
Predicated on something.
And P.S., like, by the third time, Samson, like, wouldn't you be like, hey, how come every time I tell you my secret, you try to kill me? Maybe it is a little bit like George.
And the consideration that it's predicated on is...
Two things, that's the thing. We talked about this before. The two things you can do in jail is, like, find God and become an artist.
Yeah.
Like, everybody is going to get a little bit of jailhouse lawyer in them. So that's, like, I don't want to say that's a thing that, like, you vacillate between. But when you get into the concrete fart box, you're going to start making art that people will sell on Etsy, or, like, you know, sycophants will collect in their house. Or you find Jesus and you go, like, oh, you know, thank you, God, for setting me straight. But, you know, since I'm Sarah and I have no personal responsibility, I'm going to say you did a big old whoopsie by letting me kill George. Like, I'm glad I found you, JC, now. But where were you before the murder? Like, right? You're going to jump in front of that train?
Coming to court and accepting responsibility for her actions. For her coming to court and saying, I am responsible for George Torres's death, and I accept the punishment that comes with it. That consideration was never given in this case.
True.
And because that consideration was never given in this case, the offer of 15 years in no way represents what this case is worth, or what George Torres's life is worth.
Right, because this feels like this is all being done for the camera. Because the judge knows all of this.
Yeah.
Like, the judge is fully aware of the gravity of the situation because plea deals are put in place, even though they feel like kind of a kick in the dick to the victims and their family. It's to save the family from going through, especially in a trial like this that's going to be televised, and, you know, Florida has an open camera policy. Like, yeah, we're all aware. But the fact that we got to go, like, we're all just talking to camera, even though it's over our shoulder. We got to go like, hey, you know, remember, Judge, you were there. Like, he's sitting with all the paperwork in front of him.
Right.
Like, he hasn't forgotten. He could have gone home months ago.
That is an offer predicated on a particular circumstance.
Oh, yeah. Plus, she had to take responsibility, which, like, fucking hell she would.
All right.
They could have been like, hey, Sarah, we'll give you time served if you just say that you were a stupid drunk bitch who killed George. All you got to say.
In those words.
Say, I got drunk, I killed George, I'm sorry. Say those three things and you can leave the jail today. She would go, fuck you, I want my day in court.
Yeah.
A circumstance of a first-time defendant accepting responsibility and giving every benefit of the doubt.
Spoiler alert.
And coming to court and saying that they are ready to be punished. Those conditions were never met.
I mean, you were there, Judge. Why am I telling you this?
So then we turn to this.
This is like when the new employee at your job tells you how to do your shit, and you go, okay, get back to your desk, you fuck squatch.
Case, and we turn to this crime. And we turn to the actions of the defendant of taking the law into her own hands and murdering George Torres.
She's like a drunk 98-pound Batman.
She has never shown remorse for that. She didn't.
Problem is, Sarah suffered the same perception Daryl Brooks did because people pitied her and wanted. Yeah, exactly. But again, to put a finer point on it, it's not the public at large's responsibility to make sure everyone is not a fucking monster. Okay?
Yeah.
Like, that's Minority Report level intrusion. I don't want to live in a world where like everybody is in everybody else's shit trying to make judgments on whether they're going to kill someone or whether they're a narcissist and how we can better each other. I don't have the fucking bandwidth for that. I've got a kid, a job, and a business I'm trying to start up. Plus I do this for you guys, right? Like there's no fucking way that I have time to interact with narcissists who like, who am I? Oh, you're a narcissist. I made the decision. I'm going to try and help you. Helping people causes nothing but problems.
Right.
If you try to, talk about the spiritual side of things, if you get into that, you'll realize that any unasked for aid typically ends poorly because it wasn't asked for. You're going to impose yourself. They're going to feel bad. You're going to feel bad. It's going to fucking suck. So don't help unless asked, because the altruistic of us serve other people. They don't look to find ways to fill a void that doesn't exist. Like, necessity is the mother of invention. If you need something, a human who needs it will invent it. If someone needs help, they'll ask. If you're one of these do-gooders, I don't care from what organization or whatever, and you're like, let me help, let me help, let me help. At least you're annoying. At most, you're causing irreparable damage to people by putting yourself above them, because when you say, let me help you, you're automatically inferring that I'm better than you and I can help you get to where I'm at. It's fucked. It's totally fucked. Don't do it.
Remorse for that here today. She again painted herself as the victim. She's the victim of George Torres.
Right, that's the thing, Thomas. Like, when these perpetual nuisances, as I call them, perpetual legal nuisances, when the rubber hits the road, they're expecting the legal system to treat them like they're annoyed apartment neighbors, where they go, yeah, whatever. No one's going to double check your story. Just tell your lie and shuffle on, you drunk bitch.
Yeah.
She recounted the litany of evil deeds and mistreatments that he perpetrated upon her. She's the victim of George Torres' family.
Right, Darcy. We talked about it earlier. Like her cavalcade of guests extend 4 years into her past. Like no one beyond that. Like no blood relation, no nothing.
She's the victim of the police.
Totally.
She's the victim of social media.
Absolutely.
It's all about...
She's being gang-stalked by a bunch of Redditors.
Sarah Boone. Everything's about Sarah Boone, about how she is the victim. And Sarah Boone sentenced every one of George Torres' loved ones to a life sentence.
Listen, I'm not one of these like body language people, because I think body language is as viable a science as polygraphy. But you can definitely tell when someone is mad. I'm not going to say that I can dissect this behavior and say, well, like, oh, guilty people do this or that, because I think that's bullshit, because you don't know the baseline of a person unless you spend time with them, because maybe they're just a fidgety weirdo. But you can definitely tell when all the vertebrae in someone's spine get locked in an angry tension.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Just like she sentenced George Torres.
Yeah, the LinkedIn mafia's going after with their job records. Polygamy, no, polygraphy.
In that suitcase.
Maybe polygamy.
Oh.
Couple ladies in the pen.
Hey. The Scissor Squad.
She's
going to piss off the hardened inmates and piss her own pants. What she used to do with George. She loves that old yarn.
Torres lived out his last nightmarish circumstance in that suitcase, begging to be let out for several minutes, which undercuts any argument that this was somehow unsophisticated. There was ample time and opportunity over and over for her to do something different. But she went forward with taking the law into her own hands and ensuring that George Torres was never getting out of there. While she...
So
she went and slept for 11 hours.
This also puts me in mind of like the absurdity of self-defense, right? Because there are, if you're familiar with true crime cases, I don't know the names, but there was one like 16-year-old kid who was like riding a dirt bike with his friends, and like he cut off a 60-year-old dude who got out and wanted to like have words with him, and the 16-year-old kid like beat him to death with his fist. And he goes, "Oh, it was self-defense. I had to beat him to death in self-defense." Or that kid who lured his friend into the woods with a baseball bat and then just like beat his head flat. And they go, "Oh, I was self-defense, like all this bullshit, like the castle doctrine, like an idiot with no foresight or forethought will think that this phrase gets them out of everything. I feared for my life.
Right.
Because someone somewhere that trickled into their head, their fucking mush head via osmosis or something, and they go, I was in fear for my life. Well, seeing as how you have 0 injuries and the 13-year-old you lured into the woods, his head is flat as a pancake and the baseball bat you beat him to death with is dented at a 47-degree angle, how scared were you?
Went to bed and went to sleep for hours on end. She can't say that she...
Maybe this is the only thing where the prosecutors can say this is a sophisticated decision.
was in duress. For the same reason. She was in such duress of George Torres
Why?
that she goes upstairs and goes to sleep for 11 hours.
Yeah, sometimes when I'm scared as hell, I'll zonk out for 22, 23 hours. Like, scared.
Your Honor, there's been nothing from the testimony of Dr. Harper either.
Throw this bitch under the bus.
Establishes any type.
This mousy idiot, like her life is probably nothing but like people cutting in front of her at Starbucks. She's like, oh, that's fine. And now she gets to take both barrels from this guy.
This is funny because he looks around probably for her.
Harper,
Are you hearing this shit? A basis to downward depart. Dr. Harper has put blinders on to the fact that she has been incarcerated for 58 months. 58 months with the opportunity to receive mental health treatment.
The DoorDash guy just came in with a big bag of McRibs and cranes ready to roll.
Oh, hell yeah. It's like he's standing at the back going like, these are yours. I was like, oh, yeah, 10 minutes.
Is absolutely incurious about what any of those records.
I hope somewhere, somehow, like they somehow tie in like a promotional McRib with the Sarah Boone case.
Or diagnosis.
Or Judge Kralik should get his face on the boxes.
Or anything that would have been there would have said. There is no valid basis for a downward departure in this case. She deserves a life sentence. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Mr. Owens?
Like, I almost expected to hear clapping, but that was like paper shuffling. Like you want to see like a Saturday Night Live like standing O.
Response?
First off, I want to thank you for taking the time to hear our side, hear the witnesses.
I'm on the clock. I have to. Don't thank me.
I like totally cut all of his shit.
Review the letters on Sarah Boone's behalf.
Oh, God.
We've all been here for this trial. We've all been here for other trials. We've all got some age on us. We've all got some life experience on us. And
don't put that on me, Your Honor. Don't put that on me. I didn't do no murders. Don't put that on me. Brett, you love them babies, Tracy. You love them babies. Them babies was a 7 and a 17-year-old. You love them babies, Tracy.
Unique case. This was a unique homicide. It was a unique death.
Like case one, like as he's talking, he's like sliding his hand, one hand into the sleeve of his overcoat, the other one slowly.
This is unique. Bye.
He's like putting his hoodie up as he's like, good night. He slides out the door.
And as we all know, a lot of these cases are not black and white.
But this one's utterly
They're
unique.
shades of gray.
Yeah, I cut it because he talked for like 15 minutes over and over and over, just about the same shit.
You could say.
The evidence and testimony that was presented at trial.
And like there was no pause. Owen sat down and he was like, "All right,
right." He's got the dude in the back has got the bag of McRibs. Those are rapidly chilling.
Presented here today, the statements of character witnesses, both orally and in writing. Dr. Harper's report and testimony.
Hell of a report. P.S. Dr. Harper, you fucking nailed it.
Nailed it.
The defendant's testimony, pre-sentencing investigation, The arguments of the state and the arguments of the defense.
He's reading his own Sarah Boone style top 10 list.
Yeah.
Crying, stab Boone. Oh, sorry, wrong list.
Court pronounces sentence as follows.
Life.
Ms. Boone sentences you to life.
Cray for Kreinig.
Oh my God.
That's fucking hilarious.
In
I
the
love
Department
it.
of Corrections.
Better late
with
than
credit
never.
time
Welcome, Cray Cray.
served that Madam Clerk will provide to you momentarily.
Hilarious. So you'll get like, oh my God, what? You know, there are so few ways in which you can like burn someone or cook someone.
Really give it to
Like,
somebody.
Yeah, like within the confines of like professional law and those sort of interactions. But to go with like, hey, you're going to get life in prison, but you'll get credit, which Madam Clerk will bring to you. So when we take your 4 years and we minus that from life, you have only, Madam Clerk, life to go.
Life, you still have life.
There are also court
Hamburger.
costs and costs of prosecution.
Oh, Hamburger must have changed her name to Cray Cray. Welcome.
Which Madam Clerk
Read some more of these letters, Hamburger.
will give you the totals of momentarily. Due to the court levying a life sentence,
Yeah.
the
Oh,
court is
Hamburger.
inclined
Get a hold of that 74-page life story.
Yeah, find that shit.
to liquidate.
Oh, Kreinig put her brother in jail
Yeah,
too?
we talked about this.
Here's the thing. I don't give a fuck about...
The last time we did the body cam stuff, I want to say it was Rachel that said that because he was like, he was peeing on things and he did kid things.
Right, yeah, so that's the thing. Here's the thing. There's so much going on. A lot of this is going to fall out of my head unless it's like very specific to this case. But the fact that he is like, a PDF file, does that surprise anybody? No.
No.
To a civil judgment unless I hear opposition from the state.
No opposition, Your Honor.
All right. Madam Clerk, if you could please give us the credit time served and the court costs, please.
The court costs. I love the court costs because for some reason, if you get caught speeding, it's a $575 ticket. But if you get charged for murder, it's $96.50.
Years, 9 months, and 8 days, and the court costs are $418 a state prosecution fee.
$418. Get pulled over and try to walk away with a price tag under that. You won't.
$100, a jerk fee of $50, and a PD fee. Oh, excuse me, you're not
I'm right.
So the total would come up to 618. 600.
Right, again, not to bring this up for the umpteenth zillionth time, but like every lolcow, like Cyrax, all the people in that family are also, hello, like if you reach into a mud puddle and pull out a blob of mud and you go, well, how did this get here? There was a puddle full of mud. Like Sarah didn't, like again, not for another Simpsons reference, but like when they flash forward in the future and Hugh, they're going to get married and he's like, you're like a flower that grew out of a pot of dirt.
Yeah.
Those do happen. But typically in scum puddles, you'll just find a lot of scum.
All right, ma'am, the court costs and costs of prosecution
Screw you, Brick. You're in a different, whatever. 35 Kiwis.
are $618. Those will be liquidated to a civil judgment. You will be given credit time served of 4 years, 9 months, and 8 days. You will have...
Yeah, make sure you punch your fucking card. Because at your 10th year, you get one free.
30 days from today to appeal the judgment and sentence in writing. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided to you. I'm going to have the courtroom deputy provide you the paperwork. Because you've been incarcerated for the last 58 some odd months, the court is going to declare that you are indigent in this matter.
Oh.
I cannot appoint...
And P.S., before that 58 months, the last time you had a job was 638 months before that. So I guess, we'll just kind of have to eat that $400.
Yeah.
...public defender to represent you as they are conflicted out. Similarly, I cannot appoint the Regional Conflict Counsel to represent you for the same reasons. The clerk will appoint an attorney from...
Just 4 years into forever.
the conflict wheel who specializes in appellate litigation. And again, you'll have 30 days from today to appeal that judgment and sentence in writing. Do you have any questions for me? You will now be remanded into the custody of the Orange County Jail to transfer you to the Department of Corrections, and I would
Man, what is up with Kiwi money?
wish you the best of luck.
I wish you the best of luck. God bless and Godspeed. Oh, my God. Can you believe that, you guys? I can't. It's kind of a bummer that it's over, not because, I mean, all obviously for selfish reasons. Like she's put the Florida criminal justice system through untold tortures and uncountable tens of thousands of dollars. But it is going to go down as like one of the most satisfying downfalls. Like, I don't know. I did not feel the same catharsis when I watched Darrell Brooks get put away.
Yeah.
Because there was, I don't know, this just hit all the right points. And like I said, it's just like a bummer that we're probably not going to have anything this bizarre maybe ever. Like, we'll have other horrifying cases, but like the cases where the judge on the bench, you know, gives a quote like, that's the most horrifying case I've ever seen. Like that happens all the time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's not done. You're right, Starseed.
No, yeah. She'll have appeals and stuff, and we'll probably see a little more of her maybe for another year or so, if depending on how long her appellate attorney can stretch things out.
Yeah. Hamburger says, the thing is, though, prison's the only place she'll thrive. She probably didn't feel all that bad about being sentenced to life. She gets fed, told what to do, doesn't have to worry about having a roof over her head. Lots of broken people to manipulate and boss around. That's why she said at the end of her 80-minute statement was that, like, basically going to prison was the best thing that could happen to her because she found God again.
Right. And that's part of this whole situation, too, because like her life took a marked shift in an upward direction as everyone else around hers took a sharp downward.
Right.
Like, let's say this didn't play out. They probably had another 15, 20 years before one of their livers gives out, or they were both like dried out, cigarette-y, leathery husks of humans walking around. You know, that's the thing. All these things shake out, and it's not like stories ever end, right? Like, there's no, at the end of this, like, no one's going to close the book. Sarah disappears. All of Georgia's family disappears, and we all just go, what? Because, like, their stories are going to continue regardless.
Right.
And you know, it's, I don't know. Like, again, it's sort of cathartic to see this play out as it did. It's not, I mean, it's not what you'd ever want, because like in a perfect situation, George would be alive and Sarah would just be alone tending to an army of blind and deaf dogs, because she'd be one of those crazy dog ladies.
Yeah.
But you know, this is the world we live in, and Sarah is unique because not only is like the incidental details, right? Like the murder weapon being a suitcase and all of like the laziness and the going upstairs and falling asleep. Like that all just feels like shitty human nature. I think the thing that she hit on that I'm actually having to give her a little props for is the fact that this popped in a social media environment. So she went, like most lolcows don't grow up and say, I'll be a lolcow. They get discovered by a larger audience, and then they get the trolls, the pay pigs, the buddy trolls, and all that shit. Sarah did that, but like to the extreme.
Right.
Instead of just being a nuisance on a YouTube channel, she went and took it IRL and now has all the same things that all the other locales do. She has trolls, she has white knights, she has buddy trolls, she has pay pigs.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, like an online celebrity or whatever. Like when they cross the threshold from like being on YouTube to committing a crime, she took that and cranked it up to 11. She didn't even get a chance to be like a laughingstock on the internet before her fall from grace.
Right.
She just took a rocket ship to the tip of the tippity top tip.
Tip of the tip of the tip.
Unfucking believable. But there you go, guys. Sarah is allegedly and hypothetically going away for life. I'm sure the appeals are going to go nowhere because, like, hello.
What are they going to do?
But like, every T crossed, every I dotted. When you make yourself a nuisance, they give you an ironclad case. That's why Darrell Brooks is never going to get out. That's why all these people, Susan Smith, Diane Downs, never in a million years will they get out. And Brophy's so close to the end of her life, even if they were like, hey, in 7 years, she 90, whatever.
Oh yeah, she's an incarcerated celebrity. Yep.
Right, and that
Ed Kemper.
But this is like, she brought a celebrity to the court with her. Like in other cases, it feels like the media is sensationalized and the fan club starts as soon as they get into prison, because that's when like the pen pal letters start and like the weird sex perverts who want to get with a murderer and the conjugal visits and stuff. And like, oh, I'm married to Charlie Manson or whatever.
Yeah.
Like all those sycophants come out of the woodwork. And, you know, here's the thing. In a perfect and extremist world, anyone who sends in a pen pal letter to a murder and is invited to the jail should be ushered toward a door that just leads into a giant meat grinder, a la the Simpsons Treehouse of Terror. And they just go, hey, where's that Charlie Manson? Ground up into the prison food supply. We don't need those people running around collecting their art and getting all juiced up over murderers.
All right.
But those people always exist. Oh, the Wade Wilson. Oh, my God, that case. Dude's a fucking whatever. Look into the Wade Wilson thing if you want. He is eternally irritating to me. That's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for showing up. In a little bit, next week, we'll go back to Nostalgia on Wednesdays, and we're going to have our Christmas stuff rolling out. But, Fridays is going to stay true crime. I got Mike Manzi's Raw stuff coming up. We've got so much to do. It was very fun. I appreciate all you guys showing up, showing support, subscribing, liking, all the other good stuff.
Thank you, Kookie, again for the...
Thank you, Kookie, for the mead. Appreciate that. But just showing up, typically enough. Smell you guys later on the next episode of Whatever.
Bye.
You don't have Riz. You don't have Riz. You don't have Riz. You don't have Riz. Or they try to...
Fistful of Podcasts Radio.